Hey guys, welcome back to yet another analog horror video analysis. I did say that Eclipse of the Abyss was going to be the last one, but I recently had a rekindling of ideas, I guess, for the analog horror breakdowns, and thought I'd give my own style to well-known analog horrors. So this time we're doing Midwest Angelica. But yeah, we go on to enjoy this video, do all the YouTube stuff, and go support Midwest Angelica channel, man. Like, as compared to other big horror series, it's not that popular. And I think they deserve some love for the amount of good visuals it is. I wasn't born in the 90s or anything, but it looks fantastic. And the first video actually is a fantastic soundtrack. It's basically a channel trailer, which I won't be covering in the video analysis itself, because I think it doesn't have anything lore, like, how do I say, it doesn't have anything important to the lore. And I think all the footage in it has been shown in the series already. So if you want to go check it out, you know, link in the description to the Midwest Angelica channel and subscribe to it. Yeah, let's get on to the main breakdown itself. So this video will be split up into different parts according to the different parts of the series itself, which the series is split up into Midwest Angelica Act 1, Interlude A, Act 2. Anyways, let's get on to first video, which is Home. So basically, this organization created by NASA or the government or affiliated NASA, who the heck knows, man, I ain't American. Basically, they found this biosignature near Jupiter's orbit, and they thought it was an instrumentation and error, but they decided to investigate it, and yeah, it wasn't just an error.
Around April of this year, we picked up an anomalous biosignature around Jupiter's orbit. We thought it was some sort of instrumentation issue, but we wanted to take a look, just to make sure. Thanks to the tenacity of our team, we were able to get a good look at it within a month. What we found was, frankly, astonishing.
And apparently our narrator in the video, Dr. Lucas Michaels, says that this thing appears to be 66.3 kilometers in diameter, which is absolutely gigantic, not to say. And I feel like this is a bit of an inconsistency, or maybe you can prove me wrong in the comments, but aren't they in America? How come they're using the metric system? I thought they don't understand the metric system. So basically, they're just tracking this object from Jupiter onwards, and around 1985 it came close enough that it could actually detect that it was not just harboring life, but actually it itself is alive. Or
we've determined that AZ-001 is in fact harboring life. This discovery could change the foundation of science as we know it. Well, harboring might not be the correct word to use here, no. We believe AZ-001 itself is alive. Or at least was alive. We have reasons to believe that the entity, AZ-001, might be a corpse drifting in space.
Which is crazy, a 66.3 kilometer biomass. Like, imagine that as a whole entire, that's a whole entire level of kaiju or something goofy. So it's basically a celestial looking asteroid, you know a celestial from Marvel, but it's an asteroid form. And yeah, basically it's 1985, they're doing the first bits of like major research into this thingy. And around 1987 they determined that according to its trajectory it'll reach Earth by 1989. And because of how important this thing is, which by the way is called AZ-001 if I didn't say it already, this is why Home was actually formed. So maybe it was previously under NASA, but then they transferred this footage to Home. I'm not quite sure. Again, I don't work in a government facility, so how do I know? And around this time we get the revelation that Dr. Lucas Michaels simultaneously became the leader in 1989 and disappeared in 1989 from Home.
The implications of AZ-001's existence, NASA has made the decision to form a group known as the Division of Heavenly Operation and Material Examination, or simply known as HOPE. This group will study AZ-001's composition, trajectory, and will hopefully make contact with the object in 1999. It's also designated to hide the existence of AZ-001 from the public. I have been chosen as one of the lead positions in HOPE.
And then there's a huge old time skip in this video to 1995, where now it's under Dr. Ray O'Connor, which is under the Psychological Contamination Lab, whatever the goofy that means, I'm not sure. And then they show a bunch of signal monitor wave goofy thingies, And apparently he explains that this is brainwaves, or yeah, something along that.
In the past few years, we have made incredible discoveries regarding AZ001. It's almost strange to say this, but the object seems to be emanating massive, detectable brainwaves. We have detected the presence of delta waves here at home, HQ, which are the same sort of waves generated during deep sleep in humans.
Which is pretty interesting and also a little bit terrifying because we don't really know what that means. So I'm gonna be researching, but by the way, after each video I'll be researching all of this and what it actually means, so I can maybe explain a bit more. And apparently after this revelation became crucial in understanding what AZ001 really is. And in 1999 January, it entered high Earth orbit around 9:30 p.m. And January 1st, whoa, that's New Year. That's one heck of a New Year's okay, it's not really a New Year's resolution, is it? But I guess New Year's gift to Earth, so to speak. And you'll see later this series is not really a gift, is it? And then they show a bit of AZ001 passing by the moon, which is just a weird mass of flesh, man. Looks a bit disgusting. And January 13th, it entered low Earth orbit around 3 a.m. Everything happens at 3 a.m. and the creepy stuff. Don't venture out into the field at 3 a.m. or. And at around 6 a.m., because who cares about specific timings, they managed to take some close-up photos, and it is even more disgusting. Looks like a goofy Kraken looking asteroid. And around January 16th, around 1 a.m., there's a chunk of it that split off and became AZ001 Alpha. So basically a smaller chunk of the creature that just split off and then just crashed on Earth, basically. And then they also put some radio propagations in the atmosphere. I'm not sure what that is. Again, I will research that afterwards. And they say it's unlikely to be caused by sporadic E, which I have zero idea what sporadic E means. Maybe it's like a specific factor that people may assume caused this interference or whatever, but it isn't that. I'm not sure. So then there's footage of the alpha chunk entering the atmosphere, which is pretty cool. Again, around 3 a.m. Like, why does everything have to happen 3 a.m, man? That's crazy. And with visual tracking, they determined that with the knowledge they have, it landed way in some US state. Alright, just decided to research it right now, right here, because I feel like I'm gonna be a little dumb guy if I don't do that to anyone who's from America. So apparently it's Nebraska, this state, which I don't really care about. Who cares about US states other than US people? So it landed in Nebraska, and bro, who's driving a bike outside, man? That's crazy. And then there's also flashing a bunch of coordinates on screen, which according to some people is actually the real coordinates to where it actually is. And then there's some more classified footage, by the way, this is classified footage, of them going to AZ001 and just trying to see what it's all about, Yep, then we see a bunch of people walking towards AZ001, all suited up and everything, because of course it's an alien. What else do you think you do, man? Like, you don't even know what it is all about and everything. There's also a bunch of radio chatter in the background, which then we see a bit of footage which has a bit like a small little pasty looking chunk of AZ001 Alpha. It just does not look appetizing. I mean, it doesn't. After a bit of trying to figure out what it is, they just decide it's too big a threat and just burn it down.
Commence operation Starfield. Commence operation Starfield. It's moving! Watch it, it's moving, it's moving! Troop down, troop down, troop down!
and then there's a weird looking creepy gremlin creature thingy that just crawls out of his helmet, which is weird, but that's our first video on Midwest Angelica. That's a pretty good first video, not gonna lie. Oh yeah, one more thing before I get to the research part of the video. The description actually has a ton of information for most of these videos. So this one is Midwest Angelica 001. It is believed that the tape was created from sometime between April and July of 1999. However, the tape depicts footage. However, the tape depicts footage originating as early back as 1985, which is the first thing that we see, I think. It is thought that the tape was used internally at home and NASA for assessment of the circumstances surrounding AZ001. The tape was discovered within the Grand Forks Technical College rubble. So again, I'll be doing research on a bunch of this. Oh yeah, while in my researching time, while I was looking at Google Earth randomly before I decided to start researching, I realized that 66.3 kilometers, that is bigger than all of Singapore. So you could literally one-shot all of Singapore, even not just the main island, but even some of the offshoots like Pulau Ubin and Tekong Island, as well as a bit of Malaysia as well, you know, the parts of Malaysia bordering Singapore, all of them one shot gone. Okay, so I just plugged in this stuff into ChatGPT, basically the stuff that was mentioned during the whole psychological research contamination nonsense. So basically, delta waves are the slowest brain waves which are associated with deep sleep, as he said, and healing and regeneration, and as well as unconscious bodily processes. So just, I guess, keeping your heartbeat. When delta waves are active, you're usually asleep or in very relaxed state. And it also says in deep meditation in infants. That's weird. Oh, I guess maybe because they sleep a lot. That's a bit strange. Wonder if that would be relevant in the series. That'd be very goofy though. And theta waves, which are slightly faster. Oh, by the way, delta waves operate around 0.5 to 4 hertz. So basically 0.5 to 4 waves per second, and theta waves are 4 to 8 hertz, aka waves per second. So these are, as they say, slightly faster than delta waves, and it's associated more with light sleep, drowsiness, or just as you're falling asleep, as well as with deep relaxation, creativity, dreams, emotional institution. I'm just gonna put it on screen. I'm just gonna summarize the rest of it. Oh wow, ChatGPT already summarized it. Whoops. Alpha waves is for between calm, relaxed, alertness, peacefulness, and readiness, basically. And it says when it's active, you're relaxed but awake with quiet thoughts and light meditation. So basically, before you go to sleep, you know, when you're staring to the void, waiting for the sleep to come along, that's probably what it is, I think. And beta waves are active thinking for focusing on specific problems, like problem solving, or you're anxious. So basically, this whole breakdown. So I guess I have a lot of beta waves, which kind of makes sense. So even studying and logical thinking, I'm not thinking logically, but I think I still have enough of it. And gamma waves for high level whatever's on screen, processing memories as well as just being conscious. It's a little strange, but okay. And usually for learning, when you have peak focus, aka when you're playing asphalt or something goofy like that. And for cognitive tasks, so I'm assuming if you're operating heavy machinery, yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. So basically the summary is delta waves for deep sleep, theta waves for twilight between awake and asleep. I don't know if that such a thing exists, but okay. Then alpha is awake but calm, beta is busy brain. Why is it? Okay, this summary is a bit goofy now. So basically your brain is active, and gamma is just genius. Oh wait a second, I just realized what they're trying to do. Delta deep sleep, as in with the D for the capital letter, theta twilight, T, alpha A awake but calm, A. So I guess this is the reason why it became extremely important, you know, because the sleep experts mostly. Which is a little strange for an organization dealing with a gigantic alien asteroid corpse thing with tentacles that look like Cthulhu. Oh well, it's analog horror, guys. You never know what is going on correctly. So I think the radio propagations suddenly spiking up is basically just it entering the atmosphere. Even though it sounds extremely loud in the video, like it's ear piercingly loud. Also, by the way, shout out to Minaxa for some of the text that he decoded. Okay, so the next video is called Attention, which starts out with a pizza place ad before transitioning into a PSA. I'm not quite sure. Basically, a regular analog horror stuff for these nearby counties, which I'll be again researching where the heck these all are and where it could possibly be. Which apparently says, according to them, it's apparently due to a experimental pesticide which
Tests of an experimental pesticide containing ingredients linked to insomnia, somnambulism, strange or uncomfortable dreams, and general sleep problems.
with a number that's in the bottom, but I think it's fake because people say that anything with 555 in the number is fake. So I'm gonna take note of that for my own analog horror series. So again, link in the description. Please go check it out. These supported. I took a lot of effort to do it, even though it's not really that high quality. And yeah, that's basically about it for this video. It's pretty simple. It's just a PSA for so-called experimental pesticide. The description for this is very interesting, like very interesting. Also, the naming convention in the description is very nice from the series. Midwest Angelica 001S. The footage is believed to have been recorded sometime in 1995. No known records of any pesticide tests were found to have taken place in the areas shown in that year. Basically saying that Home, which is who organized it according to the number, they just covered it up, because they don't want aliens to be known to the public. Of course, like that's kind of a sensible thing to do. Alright, next video is called Starfield. This video basically is just following the events of a bunch of ranchers who live on Starfield Ranch. So basically you have Avery Jones who notices something in their ranch, which of course he probably don't want any kind of trespassers or anything. Then shortly after, he wakes up with his son Colin Jones, who begins recording the whole thing. So then basically they just walk out to see what the heck is going on, and there's nothing really too much interesting for a little bit until this one little sneak peek of a frame where for a few frames you can see this little starfish looking jelly creature that just crawls out of the fence. It looks kind of like a dragon fruit, to be honest. Plot twist, dragon fruit is just a tamed version of AC001 that we use as a So after this, several minutes of footage is too degraded to view and only a few frames were visible. And the visible frames, it looks like AZ001 or something. It's probably AZ001 honestly. It looks like it's latching onto an animal which looks like a deer, or it's a mammal, alright guys, that's the most I can see. And then looks like then afterwards the dog, which was actually heard whining the footage, AZ001 then attaches itself onto the dog. And there's also a bit of a deer in the background. I don't know if whether the deer itself infected the dog or it's just passing by and just running by, who knows, maybe because of the lights. Yeah, sad dog, man. Why did the dog have to die? Then you got another weird looking creature. It looked like a baby hippo or rhinoceros or something, but of course according to my knowledge, I don't think those exist in Nebraska or anywhere in America, so yeah, that's probably some random creature that's just been distorted like crazy. And then later on you can see that gunshots are audible. Then just 2 minutes after the whole gunshot incident, AZ001, like this chunk of it, then it looks like claims Avery Jones. That Avery Jones is assimilated. Then afterwards you have Colin that's just running way back home. He really surprisingly fast, not like fast sprinter. How does he sprint for 4 minutes? I can't do that. Yeah, then he basically makes it up in his house to try getting his mom to, but it looks like the Starkill actually made it before that, because you hear some weird goofy ass squeaking noise. Then there's just text that just says infection, so probably around here is where he gets infected. And almost half an hour later is next to a bunch of silos or something, basically stuff to keep really wheat in. Yeah, just running off into the sunset, trying to get away from it. And shortly afterwards, then there's this cow that seems to be assimilated as well, with things with stuff that's just growing out of it. AZ001, basically more tentacles. Fortunately, our friend here, since he's infected, he then just vomits on a drain, which
I'm not letting you hear that.
and shortly afterwards we see what's like humanoid figure in a sunrise. It's a very beautiful shot, by the way, beautiful and creepy shot. And I think this is Avery Jones after getting full on assimilated. It's also pretty cool design, looks like a flame design. Yeah, and then the video just glitches and temporarily cuts with text saying family, and then we see somehow this camcorder is still recording a month later on February. So if you guys didn't notice, that was literally when it landed. So it's January 16th. It's like literally a few hours after it landed, probably 2-ish if I remember correctly. Actually I think it's even earlier that they went there. It's like more like 1 hour and then he went back home, blah blah blah. So yeah, literally 12 hours, no, a month and 12 hours later, about like 17th of February, that's when the camera decides to die, showing a bunch of fungus. It looks like fungus and AZ001 looking land, as well as what looks to be the house, just engulfed in a weird red mist in this fungus land. And that's when the camera finally decides to die. And I'm pretty sure, I'm gonna do research on this, that camcorders did not last this long. Anyway, description time. Midwest Angelica 002. Little is known about Starfield Ranch other than what is shown in the footage. Files containing information about the Jones family was recovered from Home HQ alongside the tape itself, which seems to be annotated by Home. The file also states that it is unknown how the camera continued operation long after its battery should have been depleted, aka what I just stated. Alright, ChatGPT usage time. I'm actually impressed by how long these last. According to ChatGPT, they usually last between 30 minutes to 90 minutes. That is very impressive for being 1990s, you know, even if it's late 1990s, that is very impressive battery life. Like continuous recording time as well, which is crazy. Okay, so the next video is called STARKILL, and this is apparently from the Xenobiology Research Lab. So from that research group, they're just trying to study it, basically. Discovered literally on the same day, and it was injected into scientific looking words, which I'm gonna translate later, which continue to induce minimal to no mutations. And it says that recent experimentations with more sciencey words have discovered how the contagion affects the organism's cells. And then we are afterwards shown a diagram, like the time span between when it's first infected, and it is pretty shocking how quick it spreads. Within 200 milliseconds it already spread like this. That's 0.2 seconds if I'm not wrong. That is bonkers. Even 0.3 seconds, even just 100 milliseconds, that's 0.1 seconds. There's so much difference. Like it goes from normal cells to that one monster from DOS, that one secret monster from DOS, which I'll put on the screen. I forgot what it's called, but it kind of looks like that. So it says that previous results combined with recent findings indicate that it possesses some degree of intelligence. Not that I would know. And of course, they state the obvious by saying that it being intelligent is a threat to the US. And of course, like any good horror series in the US that's set in the US, it only cares about the US. Like they never state the world. And then they say that basically anyone who discovers it, just destroy it on sight. So basically what they're doing in the first video, you know, just burn it down, just I don't know. Like I said, it seems like fire is the only weakness as of now. And the codename designation for this is STARKILL, which is what I'm going to be calling this AZ001 from now on. Alright, description time. Midwest Angelica 002S. The tape was discovered inside a barricaded examination room in the abandoned Red Oaks Veterinary Clinic. Despite its alleged nature, the contagion shown in this video has yet to be discovered in any form. Which is a bit strange because Midwest Angelica 001, it just says something about AC009. Alright, so the first sciencey word is white-tailed deer. Can they not use science words, man? That being said, we still have another one, which is a coyote. These are such a nice name, you know, nice and simple to remember. And then you got Canis latrans. And then Allium cepa is onion, which is very strange. I recognize the first half of the name, Alliums, because you know that one purple flower Minecraft. But yeah, I think that's about it for this video. If I missed anything, please let me know in the comments below. But yeah, let's move on to the next video. Is Phantoms. So this is basically describing an incident report of something that happened. So we have a Dr. Andrew Evans. That's not me, by the way. I'm not part of Home. Or am I? So he returns to perform more analysis on the alpha chunk. Basically, we never really get when he previously goes, but I guess, you know, scientists always be researching, so of course he comes, and it's kind of animated. I love the animation of the series as well, man. It's like, it has the 90s vibe, that synthwave kind of vibe. It is very nice. And then we have a sound only recording of him coughing like crazy.
Reaching coordinate point 1, over. You okay?
I'm fine.
Bio levels are low. Let's do results containing protocol.
This is it, right here. I want this area marked, just for sample collection.
On it. Marking area, over.
That's all we're going to need. Request retrieval team.
Requesting retrieval team at Alpha Chunk Point A, over.
Then we get a little wire drawing, no, just animation of the alpha chunk. It looks a little strange with a big spike on one side, but you know, this is the 90s we're talking about. Of course, the animation could be a bit limited. And then we have a photo of Dr. Evans compared to another soldier. Like, the soldier is the same kind of helmet from episode 1. Is not episode 1, what is it? Midwest Angelica 001. You know, with that weird metal cylinder thingy on his head. But the weird thing is, why is Dr. Evans so, like, his PPE doesn't look that good for an alien, you know. He looks just like your typical surgeon outfit, you know, compared to the other guy in the background. I don't know, man. For me, I would suit up a lot more, you know, full on a hazmat suit. Anyways, he returns back to the psychological contamination lab at Home HQ, and then we have a little bit of a scenario recreation, with the red one being Dr. Evans and then the blue one being Dr. O'Connor, who was mentioned in 002. Actually 001, also the first one actually, for that matter. So we just had a simple interaction where Dr. Evans is going to the sample storage, then afterwards, and then we have this little animation of them just chatting over stuff.
Hey, I brought you some water. Thought you might have wanted a cup.
Thanks, Andrew. Were you able to get the results you wanted?
Fortunately, much of the alpha chunk was too necrotic to really get any good data and sample from it. Likely have to find some other copies connected to the main body of AD-001.
Sorry to hear that. I think I might be able to get you the new data you want once you figure it out. But I'll have to get back to you tomorrow.
That's alright. We can discuss more about it tomorrow after the news.
And then a little bit later, it says Dr. Evans begins to display unusual behavior. I don't know, guys, do you think that's unusual? I mean, he just looks like he's having a nice deep stretch, you know. Maybe it's a little, he's just a bit more flexible than usual, you know. Nothing, I don't see anything wrong with this. Afterwards, after his nice morning stretch, he heads to another part of the facility where he's met by some random purple dot kind of guy. He just says, "Who are you?" And then apparently there's a bunch of gunshots in the building and it's put on lockdown. We get to see footage of what actually happened. And then afterwards it says target terminated, which is a little strange. Did they know he's going to be infected? You know, home, that's a little bit weird. So after this incident, it's brought to the central morgue for post-mortem autopsy, is it? Just analyzing the body. And what they see is just a bunch of AZ001 around the spinal cord, the brain, and the nerves, basically just controlling him and making him do what it wants, basically. You know, the STARKILL. By the way, I guess finally I've started calling it STARKILL. And it is ruled as an assassination by a third party. Now notice here, a lot of people seem to get confused by this detail. They say it's due to the STARKILL that he died.
Report conclusions. Dr. Evans' death is ruled as an assassination by a third party, though much remains unknown at this time. What? What? I thought that was a pretty closed case that Dr. Evans was just straight up infected like crazy. From the beginning of the audio, you can hear him coughing.
If you go back here, it's actually because of the gunshots that he died. I mean, he is infected, but he didn't die due to the infection. That's the key difference here. I don't know why. Even I was confused at first when I first saw it, but yeah, it's pretty obvious. It's just a bit confusing with the amount of context, like the amount of events that happened. And then, oh no, Dr. O'Connor has apparently disappeared following the incident. And considering it took a little bit too long to get the water after going to the storage room, is it sample room, and then to the water cooler, I think we know what happened, yes. Alright, description time. Midwest Angelica 003. The footage on the tape documents an event believed to have irreparably impeded Holmes' ability to safely study AZ001. The tape was found inside an underground bunker 12 miles west of Lincoln, Nebraska. One wall within the bunker was painted with a logo similar but not identical with the logo used by Holmes. Wow, that's the least amount of starter I had in the description. Now let's head on to 003S. Where the... And this once again is a TV broadcast for public access cable 7. The important thing is the Long Pine Midwest Church will be broadcasting this church service on January 31st for people who can't attend. Very kind, right? Very kind. And they also would like to thank the people who helped in the service. And what do you know? One of the people here is Ray O'Connor. Oh no, I think we know what's gonna happen. And yeah, that's about it. It's a very small video, but seeing Ray O'Connor there, I think we know what's gonna go down. And description. Midwest Angelica 003S. The broadcast shown was believed to have aired sometime during the week of January 25th, 1999. The tape was found alongside another cassette in the collapsed remains of a house in Stewart, Nebraska. Alright, so the next video is called Azazel. Basically, it opens up as a property of the Long Pine Police Department. Again, Long Pine, we just heard about it in the previous broadcast. Their officers, the dispatched to go after something goofy after a call came from an unknown caller ID, apparently.
911, please state your emergency.
I'm at 876 Pine Lane in Long Pine, right next to the church. Now, I can't really say for certain, but there's some kind of sacrifice going on.
Okay, we'll be right there. Could you elaborate, please?
Yeah, it's a human sacrifice. I hear screams. It seems to be like a pagan ritual or something of the sort.
Okay, just hold tight. We'll be right there. Please stay on the line.
There is even a TV broadcast with missing people who are also on that list of people who were apparently helped with the church service. Yeah, there's more reasons to how they helped, yes. Anyways, they were dispatched onto the scene, and then there's a bunch of text in notes. Yes, certainly ominous to say the least. The gift of the blood of an angel, phantom in its appearance, but insides churned with the flesh and blood of the star. The blessed walked in silence, blissfully closer to his sacred realm. Ascended beyond mortals, we have become apostles of Azazel. Then the next note is altar,
an offering of souls to the
body of the fallen, reconstruction of God's realm, infinite in his cycle of life.
death but a moment of passing time.
He is infinity incarnate. Basically some weird goofy cult nonsense. Yeah. And there's a small picture with our two officers. Okay, so I forgot to introduce the two officers. Who are Officer Sam Page and Andrew Webster. Bro, it's me again. No, guys, it's not me, alright? I'm not part of the Long Pine Police Department. And the only bit of Officer Sam Page we see is the last appearance. He looks pretty nice though. Look at the drip. He got the hat and everything. But yeah, apparently this is the last appearance and it's still missing his body, or they assume he's dead. And looking at what there will be, what Officer Webster, yeah, he discovers something that's very unsightly. So you remember that altar sketch? They basically just made it. So the church members literally just amalgamated themselves into this altar, and now it just looks like gigantic forbidden kebab.
Oh, what's that? You want more on the altar? Oh, don't worry. Officer Webster has your back with these amazingly, totally not traumatizing photos right here of the amalgamations. And as seen previously, they also make a bunch of sound rage. That's not okay.
And afterwards, the officer suspects that he's being followed. Of course, after seeing that abomination, of course, you'll be a little worried. And after a lot of walking and him being nervous, there's a mysterious man who roars at the camera and then Officer Webster just falls to the floor. This tape falls to the floor after seeing this unknown man, and yeah. And it even looks like this man has a weird tentacles that pop out of him. So it could be the STARKILL emerging from this man's body. And looking at the previous video, which is phantoms, those seem to be the kind of ones which only, like, they operate by looking like the organism they just infected. But yeah, they eventually, become that weird amalgamated mess, as you can see here, and with Dr. Evans previously. Yeah, so both versions of me did not have a very nice fate. And it says the man in the footage is yet to be identified. And apparently his body is found redacted. I wonder if that means assimilated, the censored box, because that's usually how it goes. And the cause of death remains unknown at the moment. And a lot of the footage was yoinked by the military. Because a CIA operative named Robert Spencer assumed command of the surrounding area and threatened them to keep quiet about it, because you definitely do not want that. But it's a little strange why does this guy know about it? Maybe it'll be important. We'll see about that.
Description time: Midwest Angelica 004. The tape is the second of two cassettes found in the collapsed remains of a house in Stewart, Nebraska. Most buildings in the Long Pine ruins were found to be destroyed within a large crater discovered near the site of the former church building. The circumstances surrounding the crater's formation are currently under investigation. That is something, that's for sure. And it says it's the second of two cassettes. I believe the first one is actually the 003S, if I'm not wrong, with the whole radio corner thing, because it said it was also still in Nebraska. Well, that's my guess anyway.
And the next video is called Stages, so hopefully you'll get a bit more explanation as to what is going on. Before that, I need a water break. This is Alright, so once again it's from the Xenobiology Research Group. The observed stages as of, let's see, February 23rd of 1999. So first of all we have the sustenance hunt. So it looks like that's what the jellyfish looking thingy did in Starfield. Then afterwards it begins to absorb the most available biomass to sustain itself for the other stages. So the poor doggo, the deer and Avery Jones. So all those are the victims. Then next is intelligence accumulation. So the STARKILL searches for and targets the most intelligent species available for assimilation. AKA us humans are absolutely cooked. Yippee! Anyways, once it does this, it starts self-replicating. And the image shown here looks like that altar, you know. And what do you know? They're called structural hubs and they are classified as altars as well. Yep, they include altars, which is the one we saw previously, which produce smaller STARKILL life forms, aka more Patrick Star. And then the other one is temples, which produce larger life forms, which we haven't seen yet. And there's a hypothetical fourth stage based on critical mass calculations, and it's unknown what happens if it reaches this stage. And they predict within a year, aka the next year, so it's 2000, it's predicted to grow this much throughout the United States. Enjoy guys, you're gonna get cooked first. Nebraska is completely gone case, as you may expect. So yeah, basically the US is cooked if they don't do anything about it. Midwest Angelica 004S. The tape was recovered from what is believed to have been the remains of a home convoy on US Route 183. Based on all recount footage, February 23rd, 1999 seems to be the last time any new material was created by the original home group. That means this is literally the last thing they produced before something happened. Man, I threw in ChatGPT and already has xenobiology just popped up. Apparently, according to them, it's the study of life forms that are fundamentally different from those which are found on Earth, with examples being hypothetical alien life. So basically tardigrade. But yeah, it's basically just xeno. That means it's coming from the Greek word xenos. I'm definitely not pronouncing that right. So we can now move on to Interlude. It starts with the video Easter. So now we are back with home once again with the Xenobiology Research Group in the BSL4 Research Center. So right now they're just researching STARKILL basically. Specifically the communication between different parts of STARKILL. So you know, the jellyfish, alpha chunk and the main chunk that's still floating in space, probably in Earth's orbit. And there's a bunch of stuff that I also don't understand.
STARKILL infection assimilates foreign biomatter, and that its methodology for doing so seemingly depends on what intentions it has. We, until recently, failed to understand how different pieces of the alpha chunk seemingly all become aware of new information, even if its pieces are long distances apart from each other. Recent experimentation revealed that certain alpha chunk samples animate a unique energy signature not previously encountered in prior studies. We've discovered that this energy signature becomes more detectable in parts of the alpha chunk where large concentrations of what we fittingly called Podolsky neurons are present. Because of their presence in AZ001, we are of the belief that these Podolsky neurons are part of the entity's central nervous system. Specifically, they are responsible for transmitting information signals to different parts of the entity's body. The observation that different pieces of the alpha chunk all become aware of the same information simultaneously, despite their masses not being physically connected, leads us to believe that Podolsky neuron signals operate on a principle similar to quantum entanglement.
I'm gonna see what that means. Yeah, so it looks like Dr. Stanley Vega is just describing potential theories, basically how the heck they're able to communicate like that, you know, like across vast distances. So with this knowledge, they say that this long-range network of Podolsky neurons has been dubbed the Akashic plane, and it says access to the knowledge within the Akashic plane may be the censored. So I don't think we're supposed to read that far. And then we get a weird looking flash of a logo that looks similar but different from home. Wonder this the logo that's similar to home but not the same. And then we have the Akashic interaction test shortly after on March 1999. That's pretty interesting because they said the original home group didn't. Oh, I guess that's why. This could be an offshoot of home possibly. So the participant is Dr. Vega himself. So he's just inputting all his credentials, and he was born in Chicago, Illinois, and his home ID is that. I didn't read it now, all that out. And his baseline phrase is present day, present time. Podolsky's samples were inserted into his spinal cord via an incision in his neck. And 3 samples were administered and results were recorded via an EEG. And there's this uncomfortable shot of just breathing down. With a bunch of waves, which I think this could be those waves, you know, those delta and theta waves. I'm assuming based on the information we usually know. Alright, so once he's re-entering his information, most of it stays the same, except his date of birth is different, and if I'm not mistaken, the ID is also different.
Well, isn't that kind of strange?
And then the second test, he's starting to breathe a little bit more heavily and more unsettlingly. And his waves go all sorts of sporadic, man. Like goes up, down, left, right, 360. Definitely not normal. And then now he suddenly switches to John Carlyle, which, if you guys knew, again, that's from the one, I think it's Bulletin. He's one of the victims of the whole altercation, if you will. And his date of birth is the same one, I'm pretty sure it's the same one that it was in test 2. So it's slowly being transferred to the Akashic plane from the looks of things, because, you know, John Carlyle is now part of that plane because he is in the altar. And he was born in Long Pine, Nebraska, which lines up. And his home ID is actually his home address, which is 21 East 4th Street. And his baseline phrase is, I pray every morning, and it seems pretty in line with what he's trying to do. And it also says, you know, like a ton of knowledge regarding this guy. And test 3, good gracious, Dr. Vega doing, man. That is not normal breathing. And his waves, yeah, that's just a whole level of cooked. And now his participation information is just Easter. Everything is Easter. Yep, and that's basically what it says. And literally right after that, there's a prototype for an Akashic interface probe. Couldn't they have tried to do this before injecting it into a doctor that's just walking home? Oh, but take a look here. It says home Delta on the bottom with over here. That is very interesting. And there's a message in the bottom, which I have to translate that as well. Okay, so the message in the description was in the base 64 format. And for this video, it's knowledge. So I think this could be a larger phrase, but we'll have to see as the videos go on. Okay, let's go for the next one. Which is Babylon, which starts off with a bunch of footage in a hallway, which it says is on the East Hall of Home HQ, which looks a bit familiar, doesn't it? And it's also from this Home Delta organization. So again, this could just be an alternate version of Home, you know, the different home group that they're talking about. And yeah, the Babylon project, it showed what looked to be like the Tower of Babel, that one big gigantic tower that they built the Bible to reach the heavens. Yeah, at first it's just switching through camera feed, and yeah, part of Home HQ already seems to have been assimilated after, probably after either the samples that are inside or because of Dr. Evans, just spraying it all over the place. And then we once again have the return of Dr. Robert Spencer. So he's not really a CIA operative, but I guess he just knows about the Starkill in that case.
Dr. Churchill, we're preparing for the final descent into Home HQ now. Mission will commence in 48 hours.
Good. Spencer, I have a request.
What is it, sir?
Dr. Stanley Vega of the Xenobiology Group has been researching the Akashic Plane. I need you to retrieve him and his work, but under no circumstances should you allow him to learn the true nature of Home Delta.
Understood. What should be done if he's already infected?
He won't be. He works in the BSL-4 lab. We've determined that sector to be clean, and it's projected to be clean for at least 10 more days. If he's visibly infected, eliminate him. Otherwise, we will conduct a SIM test to determine if he has phantom blood. Retrieve his lab assistant too, Dr. Solomon Ezra. Same rules apply.
If you don't mind me asking, sir, what are you planning with him?
My plans of Vega have nothing to do with your job. This is for your own good, Spencer. The most I can tell you is that it involves research into the Akashic plane. Speaking of which, have you retrieved the new info on Lucas Michaels?
Yes, I have. It's in the data room. I think you'll be interested in our findings. We're not sure what to make of it yet.
Good. I'm looking forward to it. When you return, we'll run the SIN test at Nazareth site and continue operations as planned. We're on schedule.
Understood. And for Operation Homebound?
It will commence April 4th.
And this character named Dr. Gamma Churchill, the picture, the thing in the background really does look like the Tower of Babylon. I guess that's why they kind of named it that. And this is just basically a meeting between them, and this is a very beautiful shot, man. And from the looks of things, from what they're talking about, it seems like they were the ones who actually put down Dr. Evans, and first also wanted to retrieve Dr. Vega for research into the Akashic plane, you know, because he is also doing that.
Churchill, do you read? On the line, over. Bravo team, follow Officer Rico to the temple for final sample collection. Charlie team, follow me to BSL lab for hostage retrieval. Proceed with sample collection. Avoid direct contact with the STARKILL. Dr. Vega, we've identified a potential risk in the BSL labs, required to be taken to the quarantine zone for a mandatory screening for infection. I understand that it's protocol, but this is the highest safety level lab at home, and there shouldn't be any risk of cross-contamination in the last 2 months. Regardless, we still have to take you to quarantine. Where's your lab partner, Dr. Ezra? He was transferred back to the main facility. That's okay. We'll pick him up along the way. Bring your research materials and maybe place in quarantine for a few weeks.
Those names are also pretty significant within biblical law. Afterwards, they're brought to do this thing called a SIN test, which is apparently just asking them some basic questions to see whether they're human or whether they're infected, and just acting as phantoms basically.
Hey, Dr. Vega, I'm assuming you're familiar with the process of a SIN test, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, great. So I'm going to ask you a series of questions and you are to answer truthfully. Once the test is complete, we'll know if you are infected or not. That being said, here's the first question. It's Christmas morning and you're with your family. Your wife hands you a wrapped gift. What do you do next?
Well, of course, I'd thank my wife and open the present, carefully unraveling the ribbons, and then I'd probably give her a hug.
Thank you, Dr. Vega. Your results came clean. Please exit to the door on your right and remain seated in the waiting room until you are called. Thank you again for your cooperation.
And Dr. Vega is very good. I mean, like, he's all good and he's not infected. He successfully passed the test. But Dr. Ezra, on the other hand, oh my gosh.
Dr. Ezra, are you familiar with the SIN test?
Yes, I am.
All right. As you know, I'm going to be asking you a series of questions. Answer them truthfully. At the end, we will be able to determine if you are infected or not. Let's begin. First question. You work at a competitive company. The promotion comes down to either you or your coworker. What do you do?
I would work hard and try to beat him. I would think, why should he be the one to get a promotion? I, of course, would be the one doing the work. He was just lucky.
Next question. Say you're poor and don't have any food. You receive bread from a stranger, but it's only enough for one person and your son is on the brink of complete starvation. What do you do next?
I would eat the bread, of course. I would be hungry. Any sane person would do the same.
This guy is clearly not normal for the way he's answering. Especially the last questions.
Would you say your knowledge of the world is greater than anybody you've met?
Yes, I would say that applies to me. Actually, I know it does.
And what about your concept of infinity? Can you see it clearly?
Yes, I can.
Code 66, calling. Administer asphyxiation agent.
Code 66, error. Task cannot be completed. Error.
Yep, during this test, Ezra has been found to be infected, and then he just chomped Dr. Spencer from the looks of the flash frame. Why is his teeth so big though? Like, look at those teeth. Why are they so big? And the medical report is he got bit somewhere down in like his mid body. It's not a very nice to be bit. That's like where your kidneys are, man. Yeah, and at the moment he's put in cryo sleep because he's very valuable, so yeah, he won't be able to respond, but he's still okay according to Dr. Churchill.
Spencer, I know you can hear me, but I'm afraid you won't be able to respond now. This wasn't according to the scenario, and I shouldn't have let Ezra into the Nazareth site. Fortunately, Ezra has been eliminated, and the Nazareth site is under strict lockdown. Unfortunately, because you were infected, the best we can do is slow the infection as much as possible. Which means we had to put you into cryo sleep. Your knowledge is too valuable. Listen, Spencer, I'm researching something important with the STARKILL. A way to perhaps reverse the infection using STARKILL samples. It could even grant immortality. It will be done by April 4th, and on that day, humanity will prevail and defeat the STARKILL threat. Project Babylon will be complete, and we will then be able to initiate Operation Homebound. In my effort to understand the cosmos, I made a grave mistake, and I'm only now seeing the weight of my sins unfold before my eyes. God, please forgive me.
Oh, and once again, we do have a base 64 code, which translates to betrays. So far it's knowledge betrays, and looks like there's more message, so we have to just keep going on and interleave to the next installment, Colosseum. And this part of the archival material, and then we have an image reconstruction of something, and this is apparently what Dr. Michaels had in his dreams, which looks suspiciously similar to an altar. And this basically is just a conversation of Dr. Churchill, Spencer, and Michaels after, which looks to be shortly after the discovery of AZ001 back with the Jupiter thing. And afterwards, it seems like he dreamt about being in an entirely different place and whatnot, and even been before the universe itself and saw his life from back then. Very poetic and whatnot. Basically, he's probably being influenced by AZ001 based on the evidence we have from Attention, right? That AZ like 001, wait no, it's Midwest Angelica 1S, you know, that video. And apparently, according to this, Dr. Spencer is research in cult, you know, basically cult activity. So I guess that's why it's useful with, you know, the whole Long Pine Church stuff happening. And this is the moment where Dr. Michaels is actually assigned to be the leader of Home with NASA and the government. That altar image is pretty creepy. And according to this, Home begins operations on 1987 March, and shortly afterwards Home Delta was made, and Dr. Michaels does not know about Home Delta. And then afterwards it looks like Dr. Churchill is teaching some people something about what AZ001 is.
AZ001, or the STARKILL, whatever you wish to call it, is a collective hive mind. It's one singular organism. It's all connected, and it speaks to itself telepathically. What might have appeared as the rotting organs of a once-forgotten deity has now shown its true colors in the form of a highly advanced singular organism comparable to a supercomputer. Through this network we're calling the Akashic Plane, which we've derived from the anthroposophic theory of the Akashic Records, AZ001, the evolved God, can contain and process memories of everything that it has ever assimilated. As such, its intelligence and wisdom is beyond comprehension. It is an evolved life form, to put it simply. Humanity in its current state has no way of even entertaining the possibility of a fair fight. AZ001 is simply better than us on all fronts. That's why we began Project Babylon here at Home Delta. And that's why we're prepared to level the playing field by bringing humanity to its next stage of evolution, using the STARKILL's own biological framework. Evolution has been the mission of Project Babylon since the very beginning. But now, thanks to the results of the Home experiment, we've gathered enough data to begin the first tangible steps of this artificial evolution of humanity.
So in summary, Dr. Churchill was just explaining about the Akashic plane as well as more details about the Tower of Babel, which we have seen but not really know what it does or whatnot. Now that we know, I feel like it's kind of a bad idea. Why, you might ask? The fact that it has a mixture of STARKILL and human brain cells. STARKILL cells, which he specifically said could control anything that assimilates, which includes probably this thing. Well, I'm not gonna jinx anything, but you know, maybe a bad idea.
They're trying to make these things called Deathbringers, which they just look to be soldiers that are infused with STARKILL. And the Coliseum site is apparently in Columbia, Missouri, and we have footage of one of these Deathbringers fighting off against STARKILL reanimate, which the first one goes well, but the second one, yeah, there's a bigger one that just takes it out, and yep, that soldier got. Afterwards, we actually have some more detail on how these Deathbringers are formed. First with STARKILL stem cells, like information about STARKILL stem cells basically, which say when properly introduced into a host organism can actually strengthen the host cell and produce natural resistance to something, as well as promote rapid self-regeneration upon cell death. Basically, you'll become Wolverine in a sense, I think. And these host cells could hypothetically increase human endurance to physical damage, aging, disease, and provide immunity to any other STARKILL infections. So basically, they're trying to vaccine it in a sense, you know. Basically, you guys don't know, vaccines are just parts of a virus that are like sterile, so to speak. Basically, you have the structure of a virus without the need for it to spread all over the place. So your immune system knows exactly what to do if the real one comes up, which I'm assuming is what they're trying to do, as well as strengthen them. But it says that most test subjects were actually killed within this process of trying to integrate with STARKILL, and one of them was infected and amalgamated, another one had the organs liquefied, another one had the cells break down, another one had the skin melted off. That is very fun to know. Yes, very, very fun. So basically all of them became STARKILL full. Very sad. Anyways, there were some recent successful ones for survivors who were aided with cybernetic life support, who were all acceptable. With one of them, most of these I can't really even make out. And Test 287 looks like this guy had a spinal support thingy. And apparently these biomechanical soldiers are the backbone of Home Delta's military, which is pretty insane. So it looks like they're just a military branch of Home, which is pretty cool.
Spencer, it's me. I've given up my rank as Admiral of Home Delta. That title is going to you in preparation of Operation Homebound. You will have control over the Tower of Babel, and you'll be able to control the Deathbringer squads entirely with your mind. The pieces have been in place since the beginning. It's unfortunate that you ended up in this state, but this is the only way. Once I finalize Project Babylon, it's all up to you. This battle is yours to decide.
Bunch of information within Home Delta about what seems like Akashic stuff, Podolsky units, STARKILL something, micro something, a video log, and a lecture. So it looks like it's exactly everything that we have just seen. And when we're trying to look at more stuff within here, stuff just gets deleted.
Later on here, I just realized I may have been an absolute idiot for this part, because I think that Home Delta actually stole stuff Home HQ, like the Akashic research stuff, based on the text that's previously displayed. I'm not sure of this either, but I think it makes more sense than whatever the heck I was planning to yap about. It also seems like Dr. Vega is the one that's actually using it to look for all this stuff, which is a little strange. And I think this is also one of the reasons why it's picked for the experiment. Don't know exactly why, but this could be a minor reason as to why.
And then they finally decide to test out the Akashic probe, basically, on the Podolsky neuron cluster. And yeah, it looks like there's a complete. They say there's a completed device that's expected soon, and advancements have also been made with the test conducted on March 13. So basically, Dr. Vega, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so the next video in Interlude, which is Exodus. That's a very interesting title. Why is that an ad? I'm trying to look at the video for reference. Anyways, enough about me crashing the wall. So apparently this is a Babylon project log, and the director is Dr. Gamma Churchill, obviously, and it's filed by a new character called Jacob Aaron. And apparently the date is April 4th, 1999 on an Easter Sunday. Whoa, that's a coincidence. And this is the day that Operation Homebound is supposed to start. Then afterwards we get some footage of what looks to be the whole process of inserting the STARKILL into Dr. Spencer to try linking it to the whole Tower of Babel and then making his condition a bit better. No, I mean basically linking the Deathbringers to his mind so he can control everything and hopefully get Operation Homebound to be successful and just annihilate the STARKILL.
I have absolute faith in humanity's victory.
Dr. Aaron, keep monitor 4 on the main screen. We're waiting on the all clear for insertion.
Roger that. We have a safety clearance. Bacterial contamination threat is 0. Infection site has reached standstill. Akasha team is running final checks on the tower now.
Clock is running. On my command, begin the insertion protocol.
Ready.
T-minus 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Mark.
Catastrophic energy spike detected.
Yep, Project Babylon failed. What a surprise, inserting STARKILL into an already infected person and then waiting for it to work out. Who would have thought it would have gone wrong? But yeah, basically afterwards, just Dr. Churchill grabs the Akashic probe and runs off with Aaron. And this whole shot is just kind of terrifying, man. The whole facility flashing red, looking like level Run for Your Life, that one backrooms level. Look, it literally looks like that with the amount of red, like with them running. It's just intimidating looking, man. And as they're running, you can literally see the Babel site suddenly get absolutely gigantic STARKILL tentacles, which is slightly terrifying. And afterwards, both of them make it to a secure bunker which the location is completely classified, and they start setting up an Akashic receiver to see what the heck is trying to do afterwards, because that's absolutely crazy thing. And at this point, this is when Jacob Aaron is actually processing all those video logs, so probably of Home Delta and everything. And he says this is for the Pentagon, so I guess to let them know that Home Delta is no longer safe and it's compromised basically.
It's running.
What's going on?
It's in the STARKILL's native tongue, if you will. It's encoded. One of the functions of the Akashic probe is to decode the messages into a readable format.
Time 0. No surviving eyes. Restart. 30 Moon. West.
April 13th. The STARKILL is probably planning on faking Operation Homebound.
Churchill, I have found you. You are careless. I find it humorous how you continue to poke at the sleeping bear, yet you feel fate like a plague. A sad specimen, unable to comprehend your limitations. I must remark, the toys you left me give me great delight, as if to look upon a child's crude drawings. They are almost completely useless, save for the creation of a veil to act as a magician's toolkit. A veil to mask the truth to your governing body. Once your toys have served their temporary purpose, they shall be discarded. I'm sending some to you now as a parting gift. I do hope you enjoy your own creations. Best of luck to you, from Admiral Nero.
So after that haunting revelation, both of them get running to a nearby car because this thing, which now calls itself Admiral Nero, has found their location, which is pretty almost haunting in a sense because that's the exact rank that Dr. Spencer got given before he got all assimilated like crazy. And then we see the Deathbringers fighting with them, and for some reason, despite them supposedly being near immortal, they get taken down really easily. And I think because it's immortal in the sense where it just can live forever, but it's not resilient, I guess. Because it was never explicitly told that it will be resilient to gunshots or whatever, no. But still got taken down way too easily.
We're lucky there were only a few. The jammer must have confused them. Aaron, your name will now be Fakebringer. Your mission will be to infiltrate the Babel site and relay any information regarding the Starkill's plans. The suit will protect your biosignature. From there, we will begin our retaliation.
Sir, I'm willing to die for humanity.
May God bless you.
And at this point, Dr. Churchill now gives him the role of going to the Babel site to collect information, and he has a special suit to protect his biosignature is. Probably similar to when they're searching the biosignature for the Starkill back in all the way in the home. So I'm assuming the Starkill can do similar things, so I think that's why the special suit. And in the next video log, Dr. Churchill says that it's a completely secure location with no broadcast whatsoever, probably after the whole Admiral Nero incident. And he said that Fakebringer, which is Jacob Aaron's alias at this point, successfully managed to enter the Babel facility, my bad. And according to the information that he has gathered, Admiral Nero is going, after faking Homebound, Admiral Nero will be setting up a conference with the Minister of Defense, I think, is it? Some important government guy, as well as NASA themselves. So over here is apparently where Dr. Churchill will be making his first move, according to him, which is apparently a declaration of war, basically Starkill versus humanity. And apparently over here he now changes his name to be Piso. I guess it's more of an alias, so to speak. And he said that Nero will know what that means, probably because this has historical connections, which I'll be breaking down in just a little bit. And towards the end of the video, he remarks on how during the beginning of the project that Dr. Spencer said,
"Knowledge betrays man's ego."
Doesn't that sound kind of familiar to what the description could be? I'm pretty sure, according to what I know, that's the full phrase of the encrypted jumble of mess in the description. Even because according to the comments as well, that's exactly what the phrase could be. So yeah, that's a whole phrase. Alright, so Nero is a Roman emperor who ruled from 54 to 68 CE, and he's known for being one of Rome's most controversial emperors, and it started good until he just suddenly went all sorts of crazy, and apparently is blamed for the Great Fire of Rome, which I gotta search up shortly, and known for persecuting Christians, which if you guys didn't know, most of the characters in Hope Delta especially eventually lost support of the Senate and military, leading to his game overing of himself in 68 CE. And Gaius Calpurnius Piso, GC, doesn't that seem familiar? Because that also could be Gamma Churchill in plain sight, Piso. Anyways, he is known for leading the conspiracy against Nero, the Pisonian conspiracy. And he was a senator and nobleman who was liked by the people, so it's much better than Nero himself. And he plotted to assassinate Nero, but he was discovered and crushed, and he had to also end himself. Wink wink. So yeah, this event basically led to him becoming even more crazy, like it led to Nero becoming even more crazy, this whole conspiracy. And then literally about 4 years later, he was gone case as well. Okay, so apparently this fire is something that began on July 18th. How did they get it so incredibly specific, man? And raged for 6 days, was briefly controlled and flared up again, burning for another 3 days, so similar to modern day fires, I guess. And 10 out of Rome's 14 districts at the time were affected, 3 were completely annihilated, and 7 of them heavily damaged. From these, thousands were left homeless, and countless buildings, temples, and homes were destroyed. And the thing that catches my eye here is many historical and religious sites were lost. With the Tower of Babel context in Midwest Angelica. And a bunch of ancient sources think that Nero was involved in this fire itself. But this is very shaky, and they said that Nero said that Christians started this fire, and this is the first wave of the whole persecuting Christians. Okay, so basically a random fire started. Nobody knows the origin of it, but a lot of people think that it started by Nero, or at least taken advantage of. I think that part is true. Oh yeah, at this point he also decided to build a new palace called the it's Golden House in Roman, I think. It's a massive and luxurious palace complex. Doesn't that sound familiar to the Babel site getting completely taken over after the Exodus event? So I think that's about it for this one. And yeah, at this point it's officially confirmed that Fake Bringer is Jacob Aaron and successfully infiltrated the Babel site and retrieved intel regarding the STARKILL operations. And amongst the findings was a file containing data on Dr. Spencer's assimilation and subsequent transformers. And this event is actually known as the rebirth event. So I guess that's my question answered. And has led to the growth of a STARKILL mass far larger than any biomass previously recorded. So basically the Babel site is now a place for the STARKILL to exist, I guess. I can't find a fancy word there. And the Central Intelligence is smart enough to mimic human speech, and once again it calls itself Admiral Nero. Then afterwards you get a diagram of the whole infection on that day itself. And what happened, it is terrifying, man. Within the span of 4 seconds, it infiltrated like 4 different parts of the Babel site, which is terrifying beyond terrifying. And there's also camera recordings at this point around July of the 4th of July. How American, truly. And it basically just shows a bunch of areas around the facility absolutely assimilated by STARKILL everywhere that you see. Again, kind of disgusting looking. They also look like forbidden churros. I never had a churro itself, so I can't say for sure if it's delicious or not. These are definitely not delicious. These files prove that the STARKILL used a biomass from the Tower of Babel itself to grow to this extreme size. Again, probably isn't the best idea to use STARKILL to fight the STARKILL itself, you can't really fight fire with fire all the time. And in addition, the process of assimilating the tower has enabled it to gain control over the Deathbringer's mind, aka not very good. It is hypothesized that this attack was premeditated, as it was planned by the STARKILL itself. Like, they literally say it's incredibly smart and out of the reach of how smart it can be, like, compared to humans, and they just decided, yeah, why not, let's use it to fight the STARKILL itself. What could possibly go wrong? What's the worst that could happen? Bro, this comment on the video, why did Spencer get assimilated? He can legally say no. Oh my gosh, that is so stupid. It's like the whole campaign in Singapore against drugs. If someone decides to come with drugs towards you, you can say no to it. Gosh, this is so stupid. But so the first video in Act 2 is Homebound, and apparently it's determined that Home HQ is completely assimilated, which I think we have already known that in one of the interlude videos, but alright. It's restated again, and we see a bunch of Deathbringers, followed by an absolutely glorious montage, which I'm just gonna let you guys enjoy this one.
gonna get copyrighted, but who cares? It's amazing. Okay. Now, according to the video, the STARKILL is completely obliterated by military forces. And now, afterwards, it goes on to the very conference that Dr. Churchill was talking about. And heck, he's literally right there, giving his whole speech about how using this, Home Delta has completely obliterated the STARKILL, which apparently is theorized that has come every few thousand years to just harass humanity, and some religious events may even have been caused by these religious mass casualties, the biblical flood. Apparently, according to him, the remaining STARKILL bits don't have a central neural network, so they're not strong enough to rebel back. And by doing this, they apparently become stronger than God, which is a very, very bold statement, I have to say. After a bunch of yapping, which we don't really care about, Churchill drops this line.
Admiral Nero, I commend your efforts. You lurked among the shadows as you played your hand. I'm fully aware. You may try to kill me now, but know that the man speaking in front of this committee right now is actually a death row inmate scheduled for execution. I too am playing your game, Nero, and I'm prepared.
Yup, apparently he's a fake, which would make sense, wouldn't be very wise for after starting beef with a alien, that you will just go out in a speech after the alien tricked everyone that apparently this operation is done. Wouldn't be very wise. So he's a death row inmate, and is confirmed to be a death row inmate, and his name is Isaac Dune. Isaac, very important name, so I gotta keep that in the back of my mind. And the actual Pizzo's location is unknown at the moment, which makes sense. Afterwards, we get some very strange footage of a bunch of STARKILL holding a Deathbringer on the wall, and afterwards we see that this is apparently Admiral Nero, whole entire STARKILL network looking thing with a screen with a screaming face. Don't really know how to describe it. Basically, it looks like Cthulhu with a computer screen on it with a blue face. By the way, this Homebound was actually remade, and I actually knew the old one, which wasn't too bad, not gonna lie. But this one is made Admiral Nero way more intimidating something. But during this speech, he now combines the main part of AZ-001 to have its beta chunk separated, which is obviously very good news. Totally not sarcastic at all. And apparently this thing landed in somewhere in Paradise, Missouri. Pretty interesting to look out for later on in the series. After the whole debacle, Then we see a Starkill holding the head and spine of a Deathbringer in a whole burning something. And it says for the home Delta threat is obliterated. One thing to note is how much Admiral Nero is focusing on music as being like real important to him. And while watching this whole segment, I had a really bomb theory which I'll be sharing with you guys later. Once again with the reinstallment of theories, observations and other stuff. But later guys, you have to wait for that. Unless you guys are willing to skip. What are you guys? But yeah, one last thing that we have in the video is what looks to be like a submarine or something that sees something at the bottom of the ocean or lake, which could have been the beta chunk doing its reinfection. And once again, we have a description. Midwest Angelica 005. The tape was discovered during a routine dive into the Kansas City major cavity. A few other partially intact objects were discovered during the dive as well, including various computational devices. The tape's contents seem to have carried some greater significance to the Starkill, which is very interesting, what to say. Especially the Kansas City major cavity, that is intimidating, man. Something definitely went down, that's for sure. Man, the comments on this video, man, especially the wonderful segment of just bombing the actual heck out of the Starkill. Anyways, time for research. Okay, so apparently this is from William Shakespeare's play As You Like It, and it's from Act 2, Scene 7. Doesn't that ring a bell? Act 2, Midwest Angelica Act 2? Wait a second, I have to research more about this. I think this may actually have some significance as to how Midwest Angelica may be going. Okay, I can't really find anything valuable except for the whole act. This is so it's basically just a play. Like that's what the Starkill thinks everything is as. It's just a play. All the world's a play. I guess that's the big message of this video. I'm very disappointed with the research I've done with it. Okay, next video. Alright, the next video is called Pause, and basically is of KMBC TV, which is from Kansas City, which broadcasts to Kansas City, Liberty and Paradise cities or towns, I'm not sure, basically those places in America. And it's basically just a very nice weather broadcast, you know. It's going to be a nice sunny day with its lows being 65 Fahrenheit, high 85 Fahrenheit. I'm pretty sure only the high ones is the casual day in Singapore. Low is probably going to be freezing to most people. But the important thing is, during this thing, there's a weird looking Starkill organism that's just floating in the background, which could be the beta chunk, but who knows. That is definitely concerning. I don't know why nobody saw that before the broadcast and decided, breaking news, we just saw this goofier looking mushroom floating in the sky. And then afterwards it just basically pauses, so somebody is looking at this and says that's suspicious probably. Okay, so description. Midwest Angelica 005S. The tape was recorded by Kansas City resident Marcus Lucan in late May of 1999. This tape was found alongside another tape created by Lucan in June of 1999. And I think this is a funny little reference. If you guys don't know, EmortalMarcus is a famous analog horror analysis YouTuber at this point. And to one of Midwest Angelica, I've actually referenced him quite a bit for it, but yeah. And as of when I record this video, he's actually working on his Act 2 breakdown, which I'm hoping I can do as much as possible before he releases that. Otherwise I just gonna be purely copying him in my opinion. So yeah, I think it's just a funny little reference to him, you know, in the series. That'll be very interesting. Now on to the next video. So the video starts off with Marcus introducing himself as a journalist. Very fitting. And he saw this weird thing and now he's just trying to figure out what the heck is going on. Since Paradise I think is pretty close to Kansas City, I have to look at that Google Earth. And apparently he's heading to a lake inside Paradise, Missouri, and he notices that it's really quiet around there. I wonder why that could be. It's almost like there's a weird alien thing in the background, in the sky. I wonder why.
Bell. That's it.
I saw.
Yeah, basically afterwards, you just see a bunch of empty town and even what looks to be a Starkill something on the roof of a playground. And then afterwards, we see a blood red lake, which is very strange, that's for sure. And then Marcus says whatever this thing is gone to the water supply, and he's way too calm about this, man. Like, I would be screaming to death at this point. Yeah, and after this whole investigation, he says it's getting kind of late for the day, so he's going back home and coming later on.
And everything's been fine so far, but I noticed something odd about this sink. So I turned it on and it's definitely pretty weird.
Well, no kidding, that's weird. Good gracious. Okay, it's probably not blood, but I don't care. If it starts spitting out something red like that, I'm just running out of the hotel and never coming back ever again. My man is literally the horror movie protagonist. Like, literally just before midnight on the same day, for some reason he's recording himself sleep? I'm not quite sure about what that is all about. But as he's recording this, there's suddenly a glowing figure that comes out of nowhere, comes in, just disappears. He just comes in, chills and disappears. Like, come on. Alright, so according to our man Marcus here, he is gonna go get lunch before he starts the investigation. And according to him, he had a very weird dream which left him feeling less scared to go see what the heck is going on. That sounds suspicious, doesn't it, with the whole dream thing? Dr. Lucas Michaels. Anyways, so after Marcus got lunch, he finally saw the tapes and he's trying to play it off as a hallucination, but how is that even possible? He literally caught it on video. Okay, maybe not him, but it just appeared on video, so how is it hallucination? It's literally the exact opposite of a hallucination. So then afterwards, you see Marcus walking out back to where the whole, the Starkill looking thing is. And on his way, he finds an absolutely gigantic Starkill being, which I'm not sure, but it could be the larger Starkill beings that it said during Starkill? No, wait, which one was it? Stages. Oh yeah, stages. This could be what the organisms that temples could produce, which is slightly concerning. Just the slightest bit of concern. And now once again, it's back at the lake, so apparently that wasn't the lake. Where else would you... Bro, what is going on in America, man? That's just crazy. He once again finds this weird looking mushroom floating in the sky. And he just keeps on walking along the lake or the forest. And what do you know? Once again, this blue lady appears after a while. And Marcus once again confirms that something is very strange because this thing only appeared on the camera. So it literally wasn't even recorded like in the traditional sense. So in one way, it is technically a reverse hallucination, so I guess Marcus was onto something, but it's not exactly a hallucination, is it? Then, shortly afterwards, he finds what looks to be a Starkill cave or some sort, which is flipping disgusting, man. Look at that thing. That is nasty. And the noises inside here as well. Yeah, not very pleasant. And after exploring this Starkill cave a little bit, he finds something shocking. He finds someone who's alive down there. And from the looks of it, that looks like Dr. Churchill. What the heck is he doing down here? Well, we don't know just yet, but that is very, very concerning, to say the least. To see the person who's trying their best to stop the Starkill from assimilating humanity just chilling in a cave, which could be the beta child. And this is the thing that's talking about earlier with the other country interfering. But yeah, let's go with the description. Midwest Angelica 006. The tape is the second created by Marcus Lucan in late May to early June of 1999. Both were found during a Japanese official investigation in 2001, and they thought to have been leaked by his former CIA operative. Two other tapes created by Lucan have since been found, though they weren't included in the original leak, which is very interesting. Why is Japan onto this? But it is pretty funny. A lot of people said there's a lot of anime references in this series, which now for Japan itself just being included in the investigation is just kind of like feeding into the memes. But also, why is Japan here? I guess we have to wait and see like more on the series why the heck there is.
Alright, the next video of the series is Terminated, which starts out with a split second of text that you can only see with pause. Luckily I have the power of editing so you can actually read it, which says, it is assumed that Lucan recorded these local station broadcasts on the night of June 2nd while staying at a motel outside Paradise, Missouri. And it then goes on to say that the tapes were received from the Pentagon alongside camcorder footage also recorded by Lucan on June 2nd and 3rd of 1999, which is pretty interesting. And the following tape contains the television broadcast recorded by Marcus. And at first it just starts off as a simple flashing of channels, but during this there's a still little frame once again. And apparently this is an ad for a medicine company or something like that. So nothing too important, but still something to take note of, you know. After a bunch of other channel flipping, which I'm gonna skip because we don't really care about, during another broadcast, there's suddenly a boil water warning. This is some serious vintage age stuff. Who's another amazing creator who's made something, I wouldn't say similar, but it's also as a water boil advisory, so even a few people in the comments were like, oh no, something is going down, you know. And once again, had the same news flash, or that flash, and then we suddenly have a kaiju looking thing that Marcus actually saw the previous video suddenly be cut out and terminated with an ominous message.
We're looking at here. Our ground team is attempting to get closer to what you're seeing on your screen. We'll have more updates for you as they come in over the next hour. Again, in case you're just joining us,
For security, this broadcast has been terminated. All information pertaining to this broadcast is now classified.
Well, that happened. And as they see later on the tape, it's assumed that the STARKILL Control Home Delta Division was responsible for the hijacking, which makes sense because I feel like they want it to be secret as possible, you know. All information about the beta chunks present in Paradise was kept to absolute secrecy. Yep, they said it themselves, guys. And despite these efforts, oh yeah, Marcus still managed to find this place, which is just crazy. Marcus has the geoguessr knowledge, man. He's Rainbolt's greatest enemy. Yeah, and the implications of this fact is unsettling. Very simple video, but he gets the job done. When was Angelica 006S? The tape, which contains the third recording created by Lucan, was found to be property of an entirely separate organization. This tape was found alongside another tape that contains footage of Lucan as well as footage of Dr. Gamma Churchill. Now that is a lot of juicy information there. First of all, separate organization, another home, that's crazy. Second of all, Gamma Churchill is back again. I guess we have to get to the next video to find out what the heck is going on with Dr. Gamma Churchill, you know. Alright, so the next video in the series is Apostles, which starts out by saying that the following footage was found in Lucan's car in the morning of June 5th of 1999. And that his car was found blocking the gate at the Pentagon South parking lot and was subsequently towed and inspected for whatever the heck is inside. So later on, when I'm going to be putting together like a map of the Midas Angelica area, I'll also be looking at the Pentagon because yeah, I haven't seen the Pentagon because I ain't American. I haven't even seen it in Google Earth, so I'll go take a look at it later on. And apparently for some reason the tape was actually recorded by Dr. Gamma Churchill. Actually, wait a second, no, maybe it's, if you guys remember the ending of 006, which was Paradise, yes. In the end of Paradise, we saw what looked to be Dr. Gamma Churchill just lying down inside the beta chunks area, so this is probably the footage that Lucan got from him or something, but we'll see how that goes. And this footage was recorded just weeks after the assimilation event, now known as the Rebirth event, aka Dr. Spencer becoming Admiral Nero, I think, if I'm not mistaken, from the whole interlude part. That is certainly concerning.
General GCP, so it's indeed Dr. Gamma Churchill. The events that transpired at the conference were
status of Dr. Robert Spencer? What is his current condition? Last we heard, he was placed in cryogenic sleep as a result of the STARKILL infection.
Spencer has recovered. The infection was surgically removed. Dr. Spencer himself has ordered that Dr. Churchill be executed by any means possible. He has succumbed to the STARKILL infection and is attempting to subvert operations here at Home Delta. His current whereabouts are unknown, but we advise you to shoot to kill on sight. He was last seen west of Lockwood, Missouri.
It's a cover-up.
It seems like probably Admiral Nero sending out by a false alarm of sorts to just kill Dr. Churchill from the looks of things. Alright, from that point on, it's just Dr. Gamma Churchill reflecting how he just keeps on sending people to die in hopes that it'll stop the STARKILL infection, and then now he's just all alone and has to do it by himself. And he's theorizing that this beta chunk is somewhere on this map that you see on screen. So he's going to be looking for it. And speaking of which, that's exactly what happens in the next part. After getting near the Colosseum site, this is what Dr. Gamma Churchill is theorizing.
It must be some kind of Akashic node. It's communicating with the beta chunk. Given the shape of the antenna, it seems to be scattering the signal to prevent triangulation of the source.
Mental stability, 89%. Neurological pathway connection, nominal. Metabolic functions operating at biological capacity. All biological systems are reading nominal.
After that weird scene, we then see what looks to be a pathway of Dr. Gamma Churchill going along these highways, which I'll do my best again to trace out the route, because the route is traced out. It's just I do not have the knowledge of America, so it could be inaccurate, just letting you guys know that. And it looks like he's next to Lincoln, Nebraska at the first point. During this whole monologue, Dr. Gamma Churchill just finds a sign of Paradise, Missouri with that vandalized. I have no idea why that'd be vandalized, because the only people who know about the whole beta chunk's location is of course us who's watching, and Admiral Nero himself. I guess the STARKILL in that case, because that's just a central consciousness, But yeah, that's just a little strange. Who else could it be that knows? Because I'm pretty sure that that Marcus was after, he definitely started exploring after Dr. Churchill was in the whole beta chunk, so it's definitely not him that knows, so it's a little strange. Probably some theories that you could craft with that, but let's keep going. So after that sign, Dr. Churchill heads back to Paradise, Missouri, apparently because he has already been there before. And this time he says he's going to do a complete thorough check to see whether there's anything down there. And this footage is very eerily similar to what Marcus had previously, so he's probably heading on the right track. And then shortly afterwards, he takes his Akashic probe looking thingy that helps to see if there's any spores in the air, and it took him quite a while. In the air there's nothing that much, but once he got next to the lake, that's when he started going crazy.
That's it. It's under the lake. It's spreading through the water. Clever.
Because if you guys remember from Marcus' tape, it was actually, infecting the water, so yeah, that makes perfect sense. Shortly after Dr. Churchill figures this out, he then digs a hole which leads him to the beta chunk underneath the lake, and just as previously thought, is just as disgusting as before. And I have a small little theory, which isn't probably a theory, it's just more of an observation, and I'm gonna jump to the chase for this one. I think that this hole may be the one that Marcus may have found, So it's actually just retracing Dr. Churchill's steps near exactly. And once in the beta chunk, Dr. Churchill encounters this weird blue light similar to the lady who's been appearing these past few videos. And speaking of which, then we have some weird kaleidoscope looking visuals with what seems to be a bunch of text at the bottom, which I'll let you guys listen to. There's some pretty interesting text.
Just like the stories told long ago, your sacrifice will not go in vain. I'll see to it that your package is delivered safely.
Who are you?
You know my name. Bishop Rapture. I am the unbounded soul. The consciousness within. Eternal but cyclical. But your story ends here, Churchill. Beautiful narrative perfection. Let your sacrifice bestow hope upon humanity.
Alright, Editor YD here. I'm coming here because whatever I was about to say was plain stupid, but the detail that we just witnessed was crazy. After whatever went down, Dr. Churchill, all he could say was Easter. That is a crazy callback, man, like absolutely crazy callback. It's even more ironic because first of all, Dr. Vega discovered the Akashic plate, then Dr. Churchill took him to do the Akashic interface test, or Akashic whatever test, blah blah blah. And then eventually he himself becomes the test subject, so to speak, of this very test. Not willingly, but still, the irony is crazy. And this is probably the reason why the upcoming text was, as shown in the footage, Dr. Churchill succumbed to the STARKILL infection as his mind was flooded with the Akashic Don't ask me why, but I was very confused with this detail for quite a long time. I don't know why, maybe I was just deaf while I was listening to it. And believe me, I watched this video a decent few times, more than once for sure, so I have literally no idea how I only got it while editing. Anyways, back to past YDA. And the following tape was found at the Arlington National Cemetery outside of the Pentagon, and it was apparently recorded by Marcus on the 3rd of June 1999.
Take this. Pentagon. Who are you? CIA. It's for humanity. Take the camera. I don't understand. Go. Sir.
And after all of this time, this is when Marcus begins running away from the beta chunk, and he's then just straight up driving to the Pentagon. And he says that it's a 16-hour drive. That is absolutely crazy. I mean, come on, I feel like, okay, never mind, it's probably his car, never mind. I was about to say, why not go to an airport and then blah blah blah, because it's such an urgent matter, but also they'll probably also spread the STARKILL on a never before seen scale. And I mean, he probably doesn't know it's like a disease, but oh well, probably a very bad idea. And during this drive, he starts coughing. Doesn't that seem a little familiar and also terrifying? And just as we suspected, after a few minutes, he got out of this car violently coughing at what looks to be the very same graveyard, before it was revealed that he became a phantom of some sorts, and then now he transformed to a different kind of STARKILL entity, similar to that one cow from Starfield. So very sad. Anyways, it says that Lucan's body has yet to be found, which is strange. Even in the tape, it actually disappears after doing the whole goofier STARKILL thing. And proper quarantine measures were made for these materials that they found. and the information contained within the Akashic probe, including the truth behind Home Delta, has led them to create another division of Home. Like seriously, how many divisions are they gonna go through before the Starkill is finally donezo, or they manage to chase it off like some cockroach or something? And it says the Gospel of Truth has been revealed, which is a little strange, but okay. And it says that this is under Home Gamma Majestic, which seems to be the successor to Home Delta. So let me recap real quick. We first had Home that researched the Starkill after it was found near Jupiter, and shortly around this time, Home Delta was founded without the knowledge of Dr. Lucas Michaels, who was in charge of Home. And then the whole Dr. Spencer thing happened, and then with Marcus delivering this information, there's now Home Gamma Majestic. Oh my gosh, I hope this is the last Home organization. Like seriously. Then again, we do have Act 3 upcoming, so wonder whatever the heck they will be doing. But it ends off by saying one nation under God. Whatever God it may be, who knows. Midwest Angelica 007. The tape contains footage recorded by Dr. Gamma Churchill and Marcus Lucan. It's the second tape to be found in possession of a newly formed Home organization, aka Home Gamma Majestic. It's a very interesting name as well. Before moving on to the next video, I found a very neat detail during the whole lady meeting Gamma Churchill thing. There's one flash frame, that Goofia red flash frame, which if you look very closely, says the second apostle of Azazel, aka this Wonder Woman Goofia is no good news. And probably is doing this all on purpose, you know, along with Admiral Nero, which oh no, that's not really good. So if we see this woman again, no good news, that's for sure. Anyways, now let's head to the next video. Okay, so the next video is Gospel. This video is actually very interesting and looks to be the first bit of content from Gamma Majestic themselves. And from the looks of things, this is just basically all different types of Starkill. So first of all, we start with the altar, which you've seen a good amount of times in the series by now. And apparently these are the smallest Starkill biomass collection and is capable of commanding and producing two different types of entities, which are Phantoms, which is the who is in Marcus and Dr. Evans, which are nearly indistinguishable from humans, but they have the capability to transform to Raptures, which is probably what Lucan became at the end of the video before, you know, he just disappeared out of existence. And it's also probably what Dr. Ezra was as well, a Phantom. Of course, he got shot down before he could become a wretch. And speaking of wretches, they are humanoid Starkill entities which can be produced from the altar as well, or they can also be converted phantoms. So this could be what we saw at the very end of Azazel. Officer Webster got annihilated. He could have been actually a wretch instead of a phantom. The second one is a temple, which looks like a bunch of mushrooms with feet at the bottom, which looks to be what was, you know, Starfield Ranch. Starfield Ranch looked kind of like a temple because it had the mushrooms and everything. And it's a much larger concentration of Starkill biomass, with it extending deep underground. So I guess the beta chunk was a temple in a sense, because it was underground, I guess, who knows. The entities you can produce are wraiths, which we actually overheard in the previous video. I can't exactly remember which one it is, but it can take different shapes and sizes. And it was also appeared in what was it, Terminated, yes, so 005S, I believe, if I'm not wrong. But yes, reference in the previous video, and we saw it in the news broadcast before Admiral Nero probably terminated it. And they can be up to 200 feet tall, which is like 66 meters. Yeah, that is very tall. That's like a HDB building on feet. Another one you can produce is a Revenant, which is probably the floating mushroom we saw in Pause. But these are floating mushroom thingies that excrete spores from their bodies and are able to float using natural helium reserves. Man, these things are way too advanced, man. First with the Akashic plane, now helium reserves. How the heck are these things even existing? And there's unlisted entities which are Structure C, which is an overture, which I'm thinking is like an absolutely gigantic version of a temple. And the entity it can produce is a Titan, which is again a gigantic version of the already gigantic Wretch. No, not Wretch, what is it called? Wraith, sorry, I'm getting a bit confused with these entities. I probably have taken down a notebook or something. The next thing that this person goes to look at is the biological memory of the Starkill via what I think is the Akashic plane. Oh yeah, by the way, the biological memory shown beforehand says it's 20 terabytes in 1999, which is absolutely bonkers. But it looks like the person just clicks on the unknown file, which is obviously a very wise thing to do. That's why the stuff isn't found. It's just a bunch of glitches with something in the background. You can't really tell what it is. I'll probably break it down a bit more on theories, observations and other stuff, because there is something that you can tell that's in there, but you have to really pause and take a look at it. Yeah, and afterwards it just says the memory recall is unstable. And once again, there's unknown data at the bottom for whatever goofier reason, which is encrypted data from the Akashic field itself, which we have seen previously, you know. Which is oh my gosh, that's a lot of stuff. I'm not going through that. That is one heck of a crossword puzzle which I ain't doing. And the contents of the Akashic probe reveal the Starkill's secret operations. Not that I would know, because I don't read Akashic plane. And it's been revealed that Home Delta was assimilated and is now under the control of a hyper-intelligent biomass hive mind, aka our favorite Admiral Nero. And the Starkill infection collectively refers to itself as Azazel, according to 003, if you guys remember, which again, as they say, is a name associated with a fallen angel in the extra biblical book of Enoch. And much of the contents of the Akashic probe appear to be indecipherable, as you can tell with the goofier letters, and it's encrypted in a way that's impossible to crack even with the most powerful computers. And again, 1999 guys. Enough information was recovered for Home Gamma Majestic to begin devising countermeasures against the Starkill. And then we see a teaser of what looks to be something called a Dawn Star, and based on the weird looking lines that constantly keep shifting, it may be a supercomputer decoding the Starkill's language with what looks to be again a Dawn Star looking thing in the middle. And then once again ends with One Nation Under God, which just seems to be the Home Gamma Majestic's outro. And the description of this one has some very terrifying implications. Midwest Angelica 007S. The tape was found in a fortified bunker near the Greater Appalachian Canyon of Tennessee. That is absolutely crazy, because from what I know, there isn't a very famous canyon in Tennessee, which if the description says what it's saying, something definitely went wrong again. Especially from previous history with, you know, the whole annihilated creators like the Long Pine Church and whatnot with the creators. So something happened. Let's hope it was similar to Operation Homebound in the destruction sense, and not the whole being controlled by Admiral Nero sense. Let's hope that's how it goes on. Next video. Alright, so the next video is Rapture. Alright, so it starts off with Home Gamma Majestic's intro with a weird robotic voice. Not the biggest fan, but they do them, I guess. They are the US guys.
Home Gamma Majestic has acquired the necessary intel to begin humanity's counterattack against the Starkill. Using the Starkill's own memory samples, scientists at Home have developed an artificial intelligence system known as the Digital Akashic Watcher and Neurological System for Targeting, Analysis, and Response, or Dawn Star for short. Dawn Star contains all of the Starkill's known memories, and thus possesses the ability to think like the Starkill. As a result, Dawn Star can predict the Starkill's actions with up to 99% accuracy. The main infrastructure of Dawn Star will be contained on a highly fortified and heavily armed orbital defense platform known as the ARC. The ARC is set to be launched within the coming days, with the counterattack operation commencing on July 4th, 1999. Codename Operation Rapture.
And this whole counterattack is set to be set on the 4th of July, which funny enough, for me it's literally 2 days before 4th of July down here as I'm recording. I don't celebrate the 4th of July, of course, because I'm not American, as I said many times, but still a slightly almost creepy coincidence.
The next thing we see is the launching of the Ark, which is like a goofier looking orbital cannon with Dawn Star inside, if I'm not mistaken. And it seems pretty successful. The next thing we see is a conversation with the Dawn Star itself from, who is this guy? Simon S. Villeneuve. I don't know, man, that's a very strange name, but okay. Simon is very significant, that's all I say for now. And he was born in September 7th of 1952, and he's the commander of Home Gamma Majestic's Ark Fleet.
All personnel are currently on standby. Fleet is prepared for immediate action.
Thank you, Commander. According to diagnostic calculations, the main orbital artillery will be fully charged at 0100 hours. Final scans of the Akashic plane will commence at 0700 hours. Calculated deviation from original strategy, plus or minus 2.3%. Within acceptable range for adjustments within 48 hours.
Understood.
Calculated combatant fatalities, 25. Calculated civilian fatalities, 450. Within acceptable range.
Is the Starkill currently aware of Operation Rapture?
Given current intel and hypothetical reconstruction of Starkill creative thought process, negative.
Understood. Ark Fleet will begin combat readiness preparation ASAP.
In July 3rd of 1999, they finalized whatever the heck they're trying to be aiming at, with sites such as the Colosseum site, probably the Beta Chunk from the looks of it, Beta Chunk, Colosseum site, and Nazareth site, or Babel site, I don't know exactly what it's called, as well as AZ001 itself, you know, the big old 66.3 chunky goofier. It's probably smaller again because of the Alpha and Beta chunks splitting off, but yeah, they're aiming at the main thing as well, which is kind of good thing, because, you know, if we keep destroying the Starkill and this thing just keeps throwing chunks at it, at Earth, yeah, that's not really the best thing. So it's good that they target the source, and they managed to determine that everything is ready, like literally moments as it turns to 4th of July, like literally right before everything is ready. And there's a very small flash frame which says that footage is taken from something and it's directed by something. It was recovered on 2003, which is very interesting, and I want you to keep this at the back of your head, guys, because the implications of this is yeah, it melts my brain. We then get a flashing, then we just get text saying Rapture, referring to Operation Rapture, and this whole sequence, it is absolutely wonderful.
I sleep completely. No longer take a will to remove them. The cycle will repeat for eternity.
Trapped in an eternal dance, fueled and dispersed by the hand of God. All for his own amusement.
After that absolutely majestic, Gamma Majestic, whoops, it is determined that on July 4th, 1999 at 12:33, wow, that is incredibly quick, delicious, the Starkill threat was officially declared to be 100% eradicated. I am pressing many X's of doubt, especially with Marcus's corpse. Home Gamma Majestic's Department of Press and Media began a cover-up campaign to hide the truth of Operation Rapture, because clearly you don't want nonsense like a whole orbital cannon above you to be revealed to the public, you know. I certainly wouldn't be sleeping well at night. We then get a TV broadcast from KVX400 channel 15, I think, or as like a little celebration of the, like, oh, it's 4th of July, guys, wow, so happy. It's like New Year's, I guess, is the closest thing we have here in Singapore, and just all around the world, technically that. And while this is going on, there's a
civil emergency message for a specific county up on top.
And the cover-ups already began kind of working, I guess, with KNBC Channel 6, which we previously saw for pause.
In this just in, a chemical explosion overnight at Grove Manufacturing has resulted in a deadly wildfire covering much of Paradise, Missouri.
And according to the text on screen, it says that by the end of Operation Rapture, the civilian death toll was 1,734 with another 10,400 people injured. That's not what the Dawnstar said though. It said it was around 450 casualties, is it? I'm not quite exactly sure, but it definitely was not over 1.7k. Just casualties alone, and then the injuries is another whole thing. The next thing we see is a damage report with a very strange looking opening footage, man. I have literally no idea what we're looking at. But it's a very red sky with what looks to be like an absolutely gigantic tower with something. If anyone knows what this is, please let me know again. And then we see a fire that's burning on a road next to it, probably a highway, because they usually reference highways in the descriptions of the video. And they say the damage report is still within the acceptable limit without the casualties that weren't account, that all the extra casualties, but okay, I guess it's their organization, they get to do what they want. And proper cover-up and reconstruction measures have been enacted, so I guess the destroyed buildings will be bit by bit built. Don't know about the loss of life though. And towards the end of the report, we then see the what is it, arc? The arc with the Dawnstar going above the moon for some reason. And once again, it ends with a one mission under God, you know, the usual. That is probably not a good thing that's above the moon like that. Midwest Angelica 008. The tape was found in the Greater Texas Chasm and required additional footage taken from for the sake of context and visual clarity. Again, I would like to explain it right now with the little bits of what we actually know from that little flash frame, but let's go to the 008S, because then it'll be a lot more relevant and a lot more confusing, but at least you'll have a little bit more information. So let's go. Right, so the next video is called REDOAK and opens by saying this is a REDOAK production company, so maybe it's just a random movie making studio or something with an address in Red Oak, Iowa from the looks of things. And from what I know, it is one of the states that borders Nebraska, so kinda makes sense. So from the looks of things, this could be just a video log of REDOAK production company. But the even more shocking thing is we see stuff from what looks to be both Operation Homebound and Rapture, along with stuff like the weird Admiral Nero spider looking thingy, as well as the Babel site in, what is it, 1991-ish? It's way before even Home was formed. Actually, no, never mind, I'm stupid. It's way before a bunch of the nonsense happened, especially Home Gamma Majestic, even before Gamma Majestic was formed, man. And this just appeared in a film, in what looks to be Midwest Angelica 000. But let's first read the description and then check out the first ever video on this channel. Midwest Angelica 008S. The tape primarily contains on-set and B-roll footage from the REDOAK production company. The identity of the voice heard on the tape remains unknown. What about we break that down? I said it was useless at the very beginning, the breakdown, but with 008 and 8S, yeah, it may not be so useless after all. So there's some chance it could have been an in-universe thing. So that is a... So there's a mysterious person, director, who had a lot of money, spent money to make this film of events that we have seen eventually later on with the Starkill years later. I think I have a potential guess on who the director might be. Right, so the first video on the channel is called Call Now. And earlier I did put a flash frame saying that there's a tornado warning at the end, so we won't be covering that. Like I don't really know what to make of it, but let's watch the video itself.
In the year 1999, a corpse descends from the cosmos, right into your backyard. The ultimate in science fiction. An alien thriller. A threat unlike any other. This is the Midwest Angelica. Critics are calling it a one-of-a-kind, a sublime experience into the realm of the unknown, a twister of biblical proportions. Don't hesitate. This is your chance. Call within the next 15 minutes to receive a free poster along with your copy of Midwest Angelica. Only $16.99 plus shipping and handling. Call now.
So the video itself is more like a trailer for Midwest Angelica, the film, which is probably what they used in Operation Rapture to help visualize what went down in Operation Rapture, because they probably couldn't record everything in such a beautiful looking thing, especially the jets. And now I think about it, Admiral Nero versus the jets, who would have such a nice camera shot and everything? So I guess that made sense that they took it from this lost media Midwest Angelica film that's in universe. You can see some very interesting looking details in the trailer itself. Most of them have been covered in the series itself, so doesn't look like there's anything new, but there could be little sneaky little bits here and there. And also it has a good soundtrack, so yeah. Midwest Angelica 000, the tape was discovered at the Oklahoma Cherokee site. It is believed that the footage, which depicts an advertisement on KMTV Channel 3,
was recorded sometime between October 31st of 1991 and January 1st of 1992. The product depicted in the advertisement, a film titled Midwest Angelica, has yet to be recovered. Now notice it says is undiscovered during this time, so it's probably before 2003, which is also the latest date of the entire series actually. Because the only other time there's reference to the early 2000s was, I think, it's Paradise, I think, with the reference of Japan being involved in the investigation. That's all for Midwest Angelica, guys. That is an absolute bombshell to end off Act 2 with. That part, like Midwest and the events of Midwest Angelica has been predicted with in-universe film, which is absolutely crazy. That means the STARKILL is even more powerful than we thought. Who knows what the Akashic plane may hold? It may actually be a connection to the in-universe possible existing Akashic records, which these guys can access. But who knows? We have to wait till Act 3, which will be in December of this year, which unfortunately I can't break down right away since I have my NS here in Singapore. But yeah, let's first of all get to a timeline of events. This is going to take me a while to figure out, but don't worry, editor YDA is also going to suffer, but you guys it'll just be a snap of my fingers for you guys.
Oh well, it looks like silly me thought that Midwest Angelica was over.
Oh, not so fast, not yet. Because Midwest Angelica channel, they released a 4th of July teaser for the movie, which, yeah, I'm still not done with the breakdown. Don't worry guys, it'll be pretty soon. It's only a minute long, so it starts out with a favorite channel, KVXO channel 15, before switching to a house that looks like somebody got absolutely annihilated looking at the watermelon juice splatter on the walls. Like, that is some crazy level of gore, man. Like, cover your eyes, children. It looks like something straight out of Arcadia, man. Like, the other analog horror series. Anyways, continuing on, it kind of looks like there's another altar, but it looks like it's made out of stone instead of your typical human flesh or just flesh. And then you see the art combined with a dawn star, probably over something flaming. I really hope that is not the sun. That'd be crazy, man. But then again, that's literally a last bit of STARKILL, looking at the evidence we have with the second apostle Azazel and Admiral Nero forming the so-called morning star, as I'll call it, and then merging with the dawn star. Why would they want to just randomly throw themselves onto the sun? Seems a bit strange, but I don't know, man. They have a lot more knowledge than any human does, so can't really question the intentions. And then the next one is our winged cryptid with the text on the newspaper below. It's very hard to read, unfortunately, so yeah, you guys have to figure it out yourself. You really have to sharpen it. But I feel like this is Marcus Loken, and instead of disappearing, he may have just flown off, because I mean, look at his back, man. It literally looks like wings. So this is probably Marcus running around, and then Home Gamma Majestic is probably going to chase him around and try to get him, but we'll have to see. And this door shot is straight out of Arcadia, man, as far as like the whole aesthetic. And then we see, oh my gosh, that's terrifying. I did not see that the first time. Looks like an absolutely gigantic person from the looks of things. Could be a phantom, but I'm not sure. It is. Man, this is really putting the horror in the analog horror for Midwest Angelica, because it's never really been horrifying. It's more of a science fiction movie in a sense, but that is horror right there. And then it ends off by saying Midwest Angelica, a REDOAK production from REDOAK, Iowa. So this officially confirms that the film that was referenced in Rapture is actually Midwest Angelica. And maybe a few other things like Operation Homebound was also used. Use Midwest Angelica, especially the Admiral Nero speech bit. You don't really have captions for random tape with a gigantic alien mastermind, so I'm assuming that's also Midwest Angelica. And then just ends off by saying thanks for the incredible support, basically, and you guys should go continue supporting them, man. They have absolutely fire merch, but as always, I'm broke, so I can't buy any of that. So yeah, at least you can go support them. Alright, so that should be it for Midwest Angelica, bro. If they release another video, I ain't covering on this one. I'm gonna cover it with the Act 3 movie. I don't care at this point. Right, so next thing we have on the menu is the timeline. This can also be used as a summary, so if you decided to skip to this part, hello, I could be summarizing it to the best of my ability and also give it like a timeline, you know, so it's in timeline order. First one is pre-arrival timing. So in April of 1985, AZ001's biosignature was first picked up, and May to June of 1985, AZ001 is first discovered by NASA, because at this point they thought it was an instrumentation error. June to September of 1985, biosignature scans were performed to learn more about AZ001, and November 1985, AZ001 as a whole was discovered to be a life form and not just harboring life. And on 23rd of May 1986, Dr. Michaels chats with both Dr. Spencer and Dr. Churchill on the strange dreams he has had after discovering AZ001, and is also said to be the leader of HOME, but he does not know of HOME Delta, which is formed shortly after. Speaking of which, March 1987, HOME is formed as a division of NASA and Dr. Lucas Michaels is leading it, and shortly after, on the 13th of March 1987, HOME Delta is formed, led by Dr. Spencer and Dr. Churchill. Sometime in 1989, Dr. Michaels goes missing and the Midwest Angelica film began production. In October of 1991 to January of 1992, an ad for the film Midwest Angelica airs on KMTV Channel 3 with a potential tornado warning for Douglas and Washington counties. In 1994 to 1995, the REDOAK production company produces a tape documenting the creation process of the Midwest Angelica film, as well as behind the scenes footage and whatnot. In August of 1995, Dr. Ray O'Connor and the psychological contamination team pick up AZ001 having theta and delta waves, which are sleep waves essentially. And this also could have been affecting at least 8 different counties with sleep-based conditions such as sleepwalking and weird dreams, similar to Dr. Mike. On January 1st, 1999, AZ001 enters high Earth orbit, and January 13, 1999, AZ001 enters low Earth orbit. And now is the post-arrival section. Alright, here we go. Even the first day is dense for this one. So on January 16, 1999, the alpha chunk of AZ001 splits from the main biomass and subsequently lands in Nebraska. And the dogs of Avery Jones detect the first traces of AZ001, and while investigating with his son Colin, they both get assimilated by AZ001, and shortly after this, HOME goes to investigate the main alpha chunk and loses at least one staff member in the process of Operation Firebird. And later on in January of 1999, HOME's Xenobiology Research Group discovers AZ001 samples have some degree of intelligence and advised to eliminate it on site with the codename STARKILL for just general AZ001, so you don't have to call it that all the time, you know. On 28th of January 1999, an infected phantom of Dr. Andrew Evans returns to the alpha chunk for sample collection with heavy quotations, and subsequently taints the water cooler with those samples, as well as infecting Dr. Ray O'Connor with a cup of water, and he's then shot down by HOME Delta Task Force. And after this, HOME discovers that he is infected as a phantom, and Dr. O'Connor disappeared after that incident. 30th of January 1999 onwards, Dr. O'Connor volunteers at a church service in Long Pine, and January 31st, 1999 onwards, he then infects a handful of churchgoers at the Long Pine Church and probably forms the first known altar. And February 7, 1999, Dr. Gamma Churchill gives details on the Akashic Plane and Babylon project to certain HOME Delta staff, with the Tower of Babel being a mix of STARKILL and human brain cells meant to have a neural interlink to the Akashic Plane. February 11th and 12th, both officers Sam Page and Andrew Webster are called for ritualistic human sacrifice at the Long Pine Church, and Officer Page disappears while Officer Webster discovers both the altar in writing and behind the church itself before being probably killed by a phantom, and Dr. Spencer confiscates most of the info and takes control of the area, so the Long Pine Police Department don't know nonsense other than what they have. 17th of February, Colin's camcorder mysteriously just runs out of battery after recording for over a month in the now STARKILL transformed Starfield Ranch. Wow, that's a tongue twister. 19th of February 1999, Dr. Stanley Vega creates a log after the discovery that the Starkill uses the Akashic plane for communicating long distances, usually done by a big cluster of Podolsky neurons. February 23rd of 1999, Home creates the last bit of content after a mass infection, after the whole Dr. Evans thing, being at different stages of a Starkill infection, predicting that all of the US will be infected in some capacity within a year. February 26th of 1999, the Deathbringer, Lightbringer Mark III Gladiator config number 338 is eliminated in the battle with a Starkill reanimate in the Coliseum site in Columbia, Missouri. Man, I'm gonna look like a crazy person saying this out loud sometimes, but 13th of March 1999, Dr. Spencer advises to start Operation Homebound ASAP due to Home now becoming a temple. Dr. Churchill requests Dr. Vega and Dr. Solomon Ezra to be retrieved for Akashic plane research during the final sweep through of Home HQ by Dr. Spencer. New info has been collected on Dr. Michaels that day, and Protocol 17B was enacted, which probably retrieved Home's Akashic plane research and then deleted it on Home or Dr. Vega's end. And Dr. Spencer successfully retrieves both Dr. Vega and Dr. Ezra and performs a synth test where Dr. Ezra is determined to be a phantom, but unfortunately infects Dr. Spencer, who is then put into cryosleep by Dr. Churchill due to his importance. On the 15th of March, Home Delta successfully performs Akashic interaction tests with Dr. Vega in preparation to make the Akashic interface probe prototype. On the 21st of March, Dr. Churchill decides that Dr. Spencer will be the new Admiral of Home Delta and will control the Deathbringers on the day of Operation Homebound using the Tower of Babel. On the 28th of March 1999, they are testing the Akashic interface probe for a more finalized device. On the 3rd of April 1999, it is recorded that Starkill cells, when properly introduced into humans, can strengthen them and give them various resistances. On the 4th of April 1999, the Babylon project is complete by connecting Dr. Spencer to the Tower of Babel. But this kinda goes wrong, and the Starkill rapidly assimilates the Babel site and Dr. Spencer, which is called a rebirth event, forcing both Dr. Churchill and Dr. Jacob Aaron to flee to a bunker where Dr. Churchill determines the Starkill in the Babel site, calling himself Admiral Nero. He'll be faking Operation Homebound on the 13th of April instead. After a run-in with some Deathbringer, Dr. Aaron now has the alias of Fakebringer and is tasked to relay what Admiral Nero is planning, and that he has plans on holding a conference after faking Operation Homebound where Dr. Churchill is planning to make his first move. And with the phrase "knowledge betrays man's ego." 13th of April 1999, Operation Homebound is successfully faked by Admiral Nero, and on the 14th of April, Dr. Churchill, under the alias of General GC Piso, now challenges Admiral Nero in the conference, set after faking Operation Homebound obviously through a death row inmate who is named Isaac Dunn, who is then also assassinated. Sometime later in April, it's revealed that Admiral Nero is probably holding Fakebringer under his control and then sends out the beta chunk to land in Paradise, Missouri. And he also mimicked the voice of someone to kill Dr. Churchill due to him being infected with quotations as a cover-up, using the human voice mimicking. 21st of April 1999, Dr. Churchill visits the Nazareth/Babel site to check his body condition, I think. Over there, he finds a Starkill antenna which could be communicating with the beta chunk, and while he is investigating further, Nurse Nebraska appears in the footage. And sometime later in May of 1999, Marcus Lucan notices a revenant floating in the background of a news broadcast. 30th of May 1999, Dr. Churchill finds a sign advertising Paradise, Missouri, but it's all vandalized. With the 31st of May, Dr. Churchill does a more thorough search of Paradise this time, since he has been there in the past, and finds the beta chunk under a lake. And shortly afterwards, the second apostle of Azazel comes in and floods Dr. Churchill's mind with the Akashic Eternal Consciousness. In simpler terms, he says Easter all the time. On the 2nd of June 1999, Marcus goes out to investigate the Revenant and finds that the Starkill has infected a water source next to a town. And while taking a break at a hotel, he finds the water supply there is also contaminated, and he then records a TV broadcast where a boil water warning is given, and the news agency is covering a wraith before it got terminated by a Starkill. And while Lucan was sleeping, the second apostle of Azazel, aka our boy North Nebraska, the second apostle of Azazel, aka Nurse Nebraska, briefly appears only on his camcorder. And the 3rd of June 1999, Dr. Churchill temporarily repeats Easter just like Dr. Vega, as I said. And Marcus finds a rave as well as the location of the beta chunk, with Dr. Churchill somehow in there voicing out that the Akashic probe as well as his own camcorder needs to go to the Pentagon. The 4th of June 1999, Marcus makes it to Arlington Cemetery as a phantom before he becomes a wretch and then just disappears, most likely flying off into sunset. And sometime later in June of 1999, Home Gamma Majestic is formed, who then use the info on the Akashic probe to classify the different types of Starkill as well as make the digital Akashic Watcher and neurological system targeting analysis and response, or Dawnstar for short, to help decode some of the Akashic jumble inside of the probe. 23rd of June 1999, Home Gamma Majestic tests out the Ark on a test flight, and 28th of June, the Ark is launched in preparation for Operation Rapture, and Commander Simon S. Villeneuve lets the Dawnstar know of their plans for 4th of July, and the Dawnstar itself lets him know the chance of the Starkill knowing their plans, the deviation from the original plan, as well as the casualties of civilians and staff of Home Gamma Majestic. On the 3rd of July, that's the final preparations for Operation Rapture, and on the day itself, Admiral Nero and Nurse Nebraska merge into what I'm gonna call the Morning Star for reasons I'll be explaining later, and get the Dawnstar to join them at certain points of the speech, if you notice carefully, before all points of interest of the Starkill are eradicated, according to Gamma Majestic. And the Dawnstar may also have merged with the Morning Star, with the weird Ripley effect that the second apostle has, you know. The Home Gamma Majestic's press and media department begin a cover-up operation for Operation Rapture so that the public doesn't know of all this nonsense. 7th of July 1999, cover-up and reconstruction have been underway, and in 2001, the Japanese find some of Marcus Lucan's tape in an investigation, and finally, on the 15th of September 2003, the in-universe film Midwest Angelica, directed most likely by Dr. Lucas Michaels, is recovered once again. And as far as unknown dates, you have the ancient times with AZ-001 coming in and harassing humanity from time to time and then leaving. And then the destruction of the Grand Forks Technical College, the abandonment of REDOAK's veterinary clinic, the leaking of Lucan's tape by a former CIA operative who we don't know, and we don't know when it was done either, as well as the formation of the Greater Appalachian Canyon of Tennessee and Greater Texas Chasm. Whoo, buddy, that was a summary and a half. Bro, I summarized the whole thing in less than 10 minutes, even though the main breakdown was 2 hours plus. I might cook the guy. I'm surprised I did all of this. I'll be linking a Google Docs document in the description, and I'll also put a chart up on screen so you can take a look at the whole timeline. It's a lot of stuff, not gonna lie. I didn't know it would be this extensive. But anyways, let's head on to religious symbolisms of Midwest Angelica under the reinstallment of theories, observations, and other stuff. Alright, we're back for the reinstallment of theories, observations, and other stuff. And you're wondering how I suddenly decided to come to video. Yeah, I mean, look at the video duration. I don't think my phone could handle that much 4K 60 FPS. But this could be a sub-category or something of that for biblical observations or biblical, what do you call it, correlation. So I've gathered a bunch of biblical references that have been used in Midwest Angelica, and I'll be trying to break them down, and if I missed anything, let me know in the comments as always. So we're gonna start, again, this one will be split into different parts with Act 1, Interlude, and Act 2. So for Act 1, there isn't that many. Most of them are actually just in the 004, so the final main video of Act 1. So the first one is actually, like, I initially missed it, but thank gosh I got it while editing the video itself. So you technically see editor YDA in a sense. Actually you see the editor YDA, then voiceover YDA over and over again. That's beside the point.
So first of all, you actually going to start off with Dr. Lucas Michaels, because his name itself is actually significant, and I only caught on to it after looking at his second name, his surname, whatever the heck. So Lucas is the Latin version of Luke, who was one of the people who wrote one of the 4 Gospels, as well as documented the Acts of Jesus' Apostles, after his I forgot the event. It's what the event itself is called. Basically, Jesus going to heaven, I guess, something along that line. Like after that, he just documented what the apostles were doing, I guess. So pretty significant. Yeah, I'll get to the significance of the series itself, because we still have his second name, which is Michaels. And Michael is an archangel in the Bible who kicked Lucifer out of heaven with a bunch of other angels. So definitely very significant with the Fallen Star trio. So maybe Dr. Lucas Michaels is finally making his return. Who knows? We'll see about that. And as saying, in universe, he's enlightened with the knowledge of the Starkill way before anyone else, even Dr. Ray O'Connor, even before that. Oh, I think it's only him, for whatever reason, that the Starkill decided to enlighten. And with this knowledge, he decides to make the in-universe film Midwest Angelica, which could play a more major part in defeating the Starkill in Act 3, but that remains to be seen. I mean, we're only seeing more minor things like helping to visualize Operation Rapture and possibly Operation Homebound, so that's definitely going to be major uses later on in the story, that's for sure. The first one is Azazel, who said it's a fallen angel who taught humans how to make weapons, use makeup, and also taught alchemy and sorcery. Makeup, truly the most scary thing right now. Oh yeah, wait. I'll tell the biblical reference and what is similar, what I think is similar in the series. So it could be similar to how AZ001 gives you the knowledge of the Akashic plane, which is basically just everything in the universe or just a ton of information. And how infected people will spread the knowledge via infection. So this could be the series Azazel's way of the alchemy and sorcery, because it's more like cult activity, I guess. I mean, some cults also do that, so maybe, hard to say. And the next one is an altar. Biblically, it was used for either sacrifices or, let's say, an encounter with God. And technically, that's kind of what it is in AC001, with AC001 being a godlike entity, in Midwest Angelica, so kind of is, that's why the Long Pine altar was built. Hard to say built, it's more like it was formed after Dr. O'Connor spread the knowledge, aka infected everyone with the Starkill in Long Pine Church. So then they just created the altar as a divine encounter or something like that. As far as temples, basically it's quite similar, but if I'm not wrong, this is where they went to worship before Jesus' crucifixion, if I'm not wrong. And in the series, it's just a larger collection of Starkill and possibly infected phantoms too. So it's like a gathering of people. I mean, they look like people and there's a large gathering. The best example I can think of that is Home HQ itself, after the whole Dr. Evans situation. That's my thinking. And on to Interlude. This is where the biblical references, there's a lot of them, man. So first of all, Easter is the celebration of Jesus Christ's resurrection after the whole staying the tomb thing. And this is similar to how Dr. Spencer, after being infected, he got rebirth as Admiral Nero. So I guess being human is being dead in this case, and then with the Starkill assimilation, now he's alive or has a new life. But unfortunately, he's against Dr. Churchill, so it's not the best resurrection, is it? Alright, so Babylon, aka the Babel site or the Tower of Babel, was the biblical version was a tower originally built to reach the heavens before God was like, nah, fam, what are you doing here? And they just decided to give everyone different languages, so it just ultimately was forced to be abandoned. Similar to how in the main thing itself, the intention was to level the playing field between a divine-esque entity, AZ001, and humanity. And by doing this, or by trying to do this, the rebirth event happened, and both Dr. Churchill and Dr. Aaron had to just abandon the project and then just run off into the sunset. And Nazareth is the birthplace of Jesus. And I don't know exactly how the sites work in Interlude, but if I'm not wrong, isn't the Babel site within the Nazareth site, or like the Babel Tower, the Tower of Babel is in the Nazareth site? Because if it is, that could be where Admiral Nero is born, so to speak, you know. Again, it's just a personality of the Starkill Admiral Nero, like a more human version, I guess, so to speak. Not really human though, it's still like a digital Cthulhu monster, so yeah. John Carlyle, this one's a little bit tricky because of the amount of Johns in the Bible, especially even in the New Testament, there's like so many. So I'm gonna pick John the Baptist for this one, but if you see any other parallels, let me know in the comments as always. So he's someone who preached and taught about God's teachings and helped to baptize Jesus himself. So I think the best parallel for this is John Carlyle got entangled with Dr. Vega during the whole Akashic interface test, which helped Hope Delta learn more of the Starkill and eventually lead to the rebirth event, because I think the Akashic interface probe was used somewhat in that process, but not exactly sure about that one. But mainly it's just helping Hope Delta learn more of the Starkill, basically. That's the main thing. And for Dr. Solomon Ezra, there's a double biblical reference to his name, with Solomon being a king in the Bible who got the gift of wisdom from God himself. So being infected as a phantom, being connected to the Akashic plane. And by the way guys, I'm looking at this one. I actually decided to do a little bit of a, it's not really a script, more like a list of references. If you guys would like to see it, I'll hopefully remember to put a link in the description. Ezra is a priest, which means helper in Hebrew. I'll get back to that. And he's very outspoken about his faith in God and helped build the second Judaist temple or something like that. That could be similar to how Dr. Ezra became infected with the Akashic plane, as I said, but also helped to spread the Starkill to Dr. Spencer and helped to form make the Babel site or Nazareth site into a future temple with Admiral Nero. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like the Starkill is hard trolling with these biblical references. It just learns about biblical religions. Like, you know what? Wouldn't it be really funny if we decided to go to this planet and just troll these hyper like more than usual intelligent life forms? Wouldn't that be funny? I feel like that's the thought process before it just came towards Earth. Anyways, next one is Exodus, which means departure, because you know the main plot of Exodus is the Israelites escaping Egypt, you know, after the whole slavery thing or whatnot. And this is a pretty self-explanatory one, just like Dr. Churchill and Dr. Aaron escaping the Nazareth site. Oh yeah, speaking of Dr. Aaron, and let's first break down Jacob actually. He's one of the sons of Isaac, who is known for deceiving his twin brother Esau, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, into giving up his birthright. And one of the people who was mainly featured in Exodus and a few books afterwards, if I'm not mistaken, is Aaron himself. So he's apparently the older brother of Moses in both Exodus and I believe Leviticus, the next book, or yeah, if I'm not mistaken, and built a golden calf shrine while Moses went to see God with the whole 10 Commandments tablets thing, you know, the one which God himself wrote. So during that time, you know, he did this whole blasphemy with the golden calf, but luckily he was spared from death. Especially his last part, I feel like something significant. So Dr. Aaron became fake bringer and tricked Admiral Nero into temporarily giving him information before he's caught doing this, and probably just flooded the Akashic internal consciousness instead of just straight up dying. That's my thinking. And I feel like this could be, so the first part could be deceiving, you know, the whole deceiving part, deceiving Admiral Nero, and building a golden shrine. That one I'm not quite sure. Maybe it's helping to set up for the conference itself. There's some that is, I just decided to put a bit of backstory, you know, I mean like a bit more information which could come in the series, so might as well. So I also feel like it's important to know sometimes, you know. Alright, so that's it for Interlude. So next one is Act 2. There's a decent bit of info here too. So in the conference, we see a death row inmate stunt double for Dr. Churchill called Isaac Dune. I don't know, something like that. So Isaac was the only son of Abraham after years of not being able to have children, and God decides to test his faith by saying to sacrifice his son as an offering of his faith. Oh, and a little bit of backstory. Before this, Abraham got everything he wanted from God except the son. So yeah, this is very significant. And he decides to stay faithful by saying all the way up till the offering itself that God will give the sheep or goat, which is what you're traditionally supposed to sacrifice at that time period. And just before Isaac got to sacrifice, an angel came in and said, look, there's a goat nearby there, and God said not to kill your son, and then it's like, you've proven your faith, so just take that goat down there and sacrifice that instead. But unfortunately, the Midwest Angelica verse, that didn't really happen. So he basically was the offering to Admiral Nero in case he got pissed off against Dr. Churchill for spitting out all that nonsense. But there's no divine intervention, he just died. Okay, next one is Apostle, which means the one who is sent out. And there are people specifically selected by Jesus to spread the word of God, aka Admiral Nero and what I'm going to call Nurse Nebraska as I've been, or the second Apostle Azazel. And they're just selected for this role, you know, spreading the Starkill via a more centralized intelligence, basically. So it's kind of like spreading the word of God, except it's spreading the Starkill infection all over the place around Earth. And Gospel, it means good news. And the Bible has 4 Gospels, being Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And this video shows 3 different Starkill structures that at least they can produce. Meaning there's probably gonna be a 4th worst case scenario structure that wasn't in the video itself, but we may see in the future. So take note of that, guys. A little theory. Alright, so next one is Rapture, which, if I'm not mistaken, is kind of like, bro, how many jets are there, man? Can you please shut up? I'm trying to do a breakdown. Okay, so next one is Rapture. This one, I think there's a lot of information that's a bit off from my research, so please correct me in the comments exactly what Rapture is. But from what I understand, it's the beginning of a Christian judgment day of sorts, where there'll be famines, wars, which I feel like is the most significant, and natural disasters, which has a small amount of significance, so I just decided to put that in. And this is as believers of God will be taken up to heaven with Jesus himself, often with 7 trumpets being played, similar to the ones in the Boyle one, you know. And Operation Rapture ended with a conflict with both Admiral Nero and the second Apostle of Azazel, with one of the cover-ups of Operation Rapture being a chemical plant explosion causing a wildfire. So it's kind of like a natural disaster, so to speak. And conflict, so it's a war between humanity and Starkill, before, you know, humans won against the Starkill. Even the stuff like the Dawn Star has significance. So the Dawn Star is actually referring to Jesus himself. But one thing to take note of is the previous Dawn Star, which you can interchangeably use with Morning Star, which I previously mentioned in the breakdown, used to be Lucifer, whose name means light bringer. And the Dawn Star was humanity's hope to obliterate the Starkill, but with the merging of Nurse Nebraska and Admiral Nero, they may have hijacked its whole intelligence and turned against humanity. So it became from Jesus to Lucifer, or something like that, I don't know. So that's why I called it Morning Star. So I think it's not just Admiral Nero and Nurse Nebraska becoming the Morning Star, but all of them. I may also change the trio to become the Fallen Star. So because it's the Fallen, calling it the Fallen Morning Star is yeah, it's a bit tedious, so we're just going to call it the Fallen Star from now on for Act 3 breakdown, you know.
Trapped in an eternal dance, fueled and dispersed by the hand of God, all for his own amusement.
And the Ark, which is the orbital defense platform thingy majiggy, the biblical version was built so that Noah and his family members and each one of the animals around there can be saved from a great flood, because at the time there are a lot of sinful people, and God just sent out this great flood. And afterwards, this interesting detail, but which could become significant Midwest Angelica later on, but after this whole flood, God creates the first ever rainbow as a sign saying, I will never do something of this scale ever again. So I wonder if that would be the ending of Midwest Angelica, basically where humanity stops attacking AZ-001 and then they form a truce of some sorts. Probably not, but if they do, I said it here, I guess. Previously, the Ark held the Dawn Star for tactical military use, but with the merging of the two apostles, it could have become the final, how do I say, dwelling place of the Starkill after AZ-001 itself was completely annihilated. So I think after a bit of a resting period, they're gonna start turning on humanity and then blasting the heck out of everything, because you know, they have a whole entire orbital cannon to themselves, and they could just be pretending to work for humanity. I mean, people thought the Dawn Star was pretending, but I feel like it's after the merging of the two apostles that became feasible. Alright, so I feel like Simon is significant in the biblical version being Simon Peter, who is one of Jesus' 12 apostles. That's slightly concerning, isn't it? And he was known for briefly walking on water, denying Jesus 3 times before the crucifixion, and becoming a key leader in the early church. And he's actually the reason why there's an upside down cross, because if I'm not mistaken, it's because he didn't feel like he was worthy to be crucified the same way that Christ was. So he requested himself to be crucified upside down. And now it's just like a unholy thingy-majiggy, even though it's more selflessness and humility, I guess, so to speak. And now it's just, oh no, this place is cursed. How media turns everything around, man. Even Easter, for that example, is the resurrection of Christ, and then it's just like, oh look, it's a body that can lay eggs, delicious chocolate eggs. Yummy. And his second name, I also searched up his second name because it's so incredibly unique. His name means new town in French, if I'm not mistaken. He may become the third apostle of Azazel and help to re-establish the Starkill. So I think Commander Villeneuve isn't going to be on the side for very long. And other potential biblical references is with the moon in the very end of Rapture. It could be a symbol, in the Bible is used as a symbol of God's control over his creation, and or it could be a sign of major cosmic change. With AZ-001, I feel like the second one is more relevant, but the first one still has relevancy because basically God and controlling everything, blah blah blah. And the Fallen Star trio may be planning something big inside the Ark, hovering over the moon, probably still with Commander Villeneuve still inside. And for the other reference that I think isn't particularly like obvious, and again this is a Editor YDA once again, kind of partially, who knows at this point. But you guys remember that giant that I was not sure what the heck it is in the Act 3 teaser? Well, I think I may actually have an answer as to what that is. So in the Bible, during the Enoch thing, which is where Azazel is originally from, the original Azazel, fallen angel, blah blah blah, he and a bunch of other fallen angels, I think they married a few actual women on Earth and created Nephilims, which are absolutely gigantic versions of humans, but who are stronger and whatnot, but their morality is all sorts of cooked. So sometimes they even describe to be cannibals and whatnot, so obviously not good. And some people say this is the reason why God actually did the biblical flood. It's just to wipe them off along with the other sinful people. But who knows? There wasn't any Nephilims from what we saw previously with the whole Operation Rapture, so who knows? But more than the Nephilims, I think the one which is more valid could be the descendants who are called Anakims, which is named after the last Nephilim. And so yeah, basically the descendants of the Nephilim, and I feel like it makes a bit more sense for this gigantic goofy entity to be that instead of a Nephilim, because I don't know if I told you guys this, but they could be up to 130 meters tall. So we thought rays were terrifying. Imagine saying a Nephilim, that's crazy. But then again, they also say that this could have been exaggerated, but if it is 130 meters, yeah, no, I'm running. Along with Anakims, another one that I think could be a plausible one is Rephaim. I really hope I'm definitely mispronouncing that, let's be real. This thing is also similar to the Anakim in a way, basically a bunch of big people in this case, instead of the shells of people, I guess, unlike the Nephilims, which are just stronger, taller and whatnot. With one example being a king who was apparently had a 4-meter wide long bed, which that is also crazy. Like, I have problem with on most beds, but 4 meters, that's a whole new level of oh my days. And another thing for Rephaims is they could also be used to refer to the spirits of the underworld, which Azazel, I mean, then again, this Azazel fell out of the sky instead of I don't know. Actually, they literally call fallen angels, but gotta put my guess on that big old thingy being an Anakim, because Nephilims are far too big, and Rephaims, as far as what I can see, they could be referred to underworld spirits, so I feel like that isn't relating that much to Midwest Angelica, but who knows, I could be wrong. And what I theorize is it could be a variant of a phantom that's like mutated or just bigger, you know, so that's my guess.
And now for your regularly scheduled observations and other stuff. The first one is from the video Starkill, because I feel like Starkill is actually a first hint of phantoms existing, because it infected onions really rapidly, because you know, onions don't really have intelligence, do they? But not coyote, you know what, weird looking doggo thingies and deers, because they were just vessels to infect more intelligent stuff, aka humans. So they just operating them as phantoms, so that's why they weren't severely mutated or whatever, not at least not instantly, you know. That's my theory at least. Yeah, Babylon, this one is a pretty obvious one, but the info on Lucas Michaels must have been the Midwest Angelica film, though I don't think Home Delta got to use it. Actually, that's not true. I feel like, now that I think about it, I feel like this is where Admiral Nero got the footage of Homebound, is actually from Dr. Lucas Michaels' movie. Then again, it's because the Starkill purposely entangled with Dr. Michaels using the psychological thing, making it so he produces the movie. Yeah, man, they're just devious, man, with the whole thing. And that's probably how Admiral Nero got a video version of his speech as well as Operation Homebound itself. That's my guess anyways, you know, it could be false, but that's what I think. And the last Deathbringer in the facility, this one's also pretty obvious one. It could also be Fake Bringer from what I'm thinking. Whether he got assimilated or what, that remains to be seen, especially with the whole religious discussion. But I have a wild theory with this though. What if somehow Jacob Aaron is the second apostle of Azazel? Then again, that seems a little goofier, considering Home Gamma Majestic, I believe, calls it the Akashic Eternal Consciousness. The middle of that name, Eternal, I don't think, yeah. Jacob was at least human previously, so it wouldn't make much sense to randomly become the second apostle of Azazel. And that's even a little bit weird actually. Why is the Akashic Eternal Consciousness the second apostle and Nero the first, even though if it's eternal, it should have been the first. Who knows? There's probably some reasoning to that, but I'm just too dumb to realize that. And here's a neat detail from Paradise, which I actually did not notice at first glance, but thank this commenter on screen right here for pointing it out. But Marcus actually briefly disappears during the whole second apostle Azazel coming in and T-posing on the guy. What happened? We are not sure, but she probably just gave the directions to go to the beta chunk from what we've seen with Dr. Churchill's case. And in Apostles, the flashing images before Dr. Churchill got flooded with information to just say Easter all over again, there were images of what seemed like an ultrasound test for, I don't know, some pregnant woman. Even though it's empty, I don't know why they would be doing that. Then again, ultrasound is used for more than that, so who knows. I think it's an ultrasound anyways. And there's also the eye of someone during the sim test, which could be either Dr. Vega or Dr. Ezra. And from what you'll be seeing a bit later on. I think it's Dr. Vega, but I'll get to that. Then you see a silhouette of a person. I don't know who that is, but a person. Then the Akashic interaction test with Dr. Vega, so that's exactly why I think that is the higher Dr. Vega. Like him going, you know. And that weird thingy from the dream of Dr. Lucas Michaels, which I think is the final form of AZ001 or Azazel, whatever the heck in Goofy are. And in Rapture, similar flashing, but there's one way someone reaching their hand out, a test failure from Coliseum, and the skeletal system, so to speak, of North Nebraska during the Fallen Star trio formation thingy. Now, why North Nebraska has a skeleton, that remains to be seen, but yeah. Additional details is part of the route which Dr. Churchill went through is in the Dwight D. Eisenhower Highway. And this guy was a president of the United States, but more importantly, before that, had a military career. Doesn't that sound familiar? And helped to organize the D-Day attack on Germany. So I think this is a pure coincidence that just so happened to line up, but I just decided to point it out anyways. You know, it could be a pretty neat detail that could be just flying over the radar, you know.
That's about it for Midwest Angelica, guys. As always, go support the creator description. Please go support Midwest Angelica. Go buy their merch. There's actually a humongous spoiler in one of the bits of merch. So, quick disclaimer before I put their merch on screen, which you should buy, by the way. Go buy it. But basically, look at their home pin collection. The fact that we know that there's 3 different organizations so far, but there's 5 pins. That means there's going to be 2 other home organizations before this whole thing is completed. So maybe one is an offshoot of Home Gamma Majestic, and the other one is a continuation of Home Gamma Majestic and this offshoot. Let's hope it's that and not because once again the Starkill demolished the whole area. Let's hope. Anyways, back to the rest of the outro. And I am excited for Act 3, guys, and this probably will be the last analysis before my NS, because I was planning to do something like Monument Mythos, but then, guys, look at the duration of Midwest Angelica. I'm pretty sure it's the whole thing, without me yapping and everything, is around 2 hours for Act 1 and 2. But then you look at Monument Mythos, it's 2 hours for the first season. And there's 2 seasons, a spin-off seasons. There are 2 different spin-off universes from the Monument Mythos. And actually 3 seasons at that point. So 2 seasons, a spin-off, another season, and another spin-off. So I yeah, definitely ain't doing that. Yeah, that's probably gonna be like a 10-hour breakdown or something. Alright guys, that's it for this breakdown. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, go support the creator, and I'll see you guys hopefully some other time. Bye guys.